Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I am your host, Kyle, rejoined once again by Matt this week. Dan is here as always. Always eternal. I don't think there's been an episode where you've ever been out on assignment.
There was one where I was very sick. I remember I had like COVID or something.
I think we moved. Yeah. I think we ended up moving recording though. I don't think we actually recorded without you.
I thought we did one.
I think we've done one without Dan. Just one.
Did we do one without Dan? I don't.
One.
We're on episode 72, so
yeah,
I can't think of that far back. But we'll go ahead and we'll kick off as we always do with what we've been playing. Well, the hot titles of the last 2 weeks. I'll start with probably, I don't know if it's the hottest out right now, but it's probably one of the biggest ones, which is the remake of Silent Hill 2, which is out on PS5 and PC. I'm playing on PS5. There was a lot of scrutiny around this remake for a while. We had one like particular bad Sony showcase showing of the game, if you remember, where a lot of people questioned after, like, the combat looked bad, visually it looked kind of rough at that time, and it was one of those like, I don't know if we need to remake this game. But they went underground for like a year and a half, kind of resurfaced this past summer, gave it a date, and it's kind of one of those like wait and see. I had some faith because I really liked this studio's previous game, The Medium, and I thought because of all the Silent Hill elements in that game that they would be a good fit to remake Silent Hill 2. It's a fantastic remake. I'm about close to halfway done with it at this point. I will say, for everything they showed originally where it was like, oh, the combat looks kind of wonky or stuff, that the combat actually is very good. It's very so one thing that I will say is they did copy a lot of elements of the Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 remake. So it's no longer tank controls, it's an over the shoulder camera, just like that. But I mean, if you're going to copy any remakes of recent, those are the ones to do. So it works really well, but I think the one thing is I'm not, and I said this in the video that I put out earlier this week too, like, I'm not as big of a Silent Hill fan as I am a Resident Evil fan, so I don't know these games as well as I know Resident Evil. Like, running through Resident Evil for the most part is like nothing for me. Like, I remember pretty much everything about it, whereas this, I played Silent Hill 2, maybe I played it once when it came out in 2001, and then one time with that 360 collection that came out like a decade ago now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
with the really bad port of 3 that everyone hates. So and that's it. Like, I haven't played it as much. I mean, I remember the game when it came out. I really enjoyed it when it originally came out. I even enjoyed playing again the 360. I think that the 360 port of it also had some issues, but I don't really remember what they were. But this is a very, very faithful adaptation. There are like some, at least so far in the game, there are some things that kind of subtly added to it, but it's not like as much as they were alluding to adding like a lot to this. There are some other interesting, like, that you can go in a lot more of the shops and stuff in the town. You can break through windows and crawl in and stuff, which is kind of cool.
That's nice.
And look around for ammo. It is more like, I feel like this game's almost more survival horror than Resident Evil in the sense of like scavenging for ammo. And you want to save your ammo for bosses, like especially when you fight Pyramid Head the first time. I don't think everybody knows you fight Pyramid Head, so I don't think that's a spoiler. But it's every aspect of it has been faithfully recreated. I know there were also like some scuttle earlier on with like some of the facial animations look weird. They look fine in the actual finished game. All the motion capture and the voice work is really well done. I'm pretty sure they kept all the original music. I don't know if they redid any of it because, again, I'm not as familiar as I am with Resident Evil, but the music and stuff here is also really fantastic. It's just I said this in my video too, like if you're not as into this series as maybe you are with Resident Evil, they're different types of games. So you have to take this one a lot more slowly. There is the one thing about Silent Hill, at least at this point in the franchise, there's a lot more backtracking than there is in a Resident Evil game. So you're going to see a lot of the same environments over and over again a little bit. If you don't know different puzzles and stuff in the game, you're going to do even more backtracking, especially when you're in the earlier parts like the apartment complex. But I've had a blast with it the entire time that I played it so far. The other thing I'll say is like it does offer a performance mode and a quality mode. I'm playing it on performance mode, and looking at how good this game is, it's another one where I question like how can this look that much better on a PS5 Pro than it looks here. So I don't know, and I haven't seen anything, or I would assume this will be a game that's pro enhanced for that system when it comes out next month. But
it seems like most major titles are in some way.
And this game is a timed exclusive to PlayStation for a year, I believe. So
I forgot about that. Yeah,
it is for a year. It is on PC. It's funny. It's actually on Steam. Like last time I think they did this, it was like Epic Store exclusive or something for whatever the game was. But this is a year, and then it will be on Xbox next year. But it's like I'd say like if you're a fan of Silent Hill, you're not going to be disappointed in the remake of this. They haven't done anything to really edit or alter the original game in any way. If you're somebody who's never played a Silent Hill game, like I would have personally, I would have preferred them remake the original one first, because I do like the original one a little bit more than 2. But I understand why they remade this one first.
Yeah,
because it is the most famous one.
It's I think when you talk to a lot of people about Silent Hill, it's the one they go to for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of the seminal one. So I mean, the one I want to remake of the most is The Room. That was my favorite one, but
that's an interesting one.
That's a really weird game.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, other than that, I highly recommend it. I'll have it done by the next time we record, so I'll be able to talk about the later half of it. But I picked up because we talked about it at the end of the episode last week. The trading card shop simulator.
Yes. Why do you do this to yourself?
I bought it.
Why. Yeah.
I bought it like a week and a half. I literally bought it right after we recorded the last episode. I was like, all right, it's $12, whatever. And I bought it. I let it sit this whole entire time until last night. I was like, I got a little bit of time. I probably should take a look at this before we record so I can speak on it, which I've lost 3 hours to that game.
That seems low for you, to be fair.
And I have not modded the game yet. I looked at the mods. So you can do, obviously the famous thing is to do all the Pokemon.
Sure.
Because I assume it's made up, but the made up game in here is called like Tetramon or something.
Yeah, it's clearly like a spoof on it and something they could easily like make copies of.
And I'm sure it's really easy to, like, from what I looked at, it's really easy to mod and stuff. I wanted to see what the vanilla game was before I dived into that. That's part of the reason why I'm not like super far into it as well. But and there's Digimon like you can do Digimon cards.
There's a lot of, I was thinking about there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with mods, especially because my thought would be to mod it would just be to replace the card images with other cards.
Yeah, that's kind of all it is.
Whichever ones are rare, you make the rare ones. So like even if you wanted to, like you could easily make this like baseball cards or Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever you want. What I would like it to be is maybe like you have all of, so like there's some Yu-Gi-Oh, there's some Pokemon, like really like have everything kind of in it. But again, this game is like still pre-access, right? It's like
it is. So it's like Supermarket
4 or something like that.
Yeah. So I'll say this: it's like Supermarket Simulator. It's still in early access. After playing, and I've played almost 200 hours of Supermarket Simulator, so I know that game in and out. I feel like this game is more polished at the place that it's at right now.
Well, it's also clearly like building off of Supermarket Simulator.
It's building off of other,
and all these other games that are like it, because it looks identical in terms of like the building and all that stuff.
The building looks identical. The way that packages are delivered, at least right now, is almost identical. They actually kind of fixed that in Supermarket Simulator with the recent update, which I'll talk about that as well because I can speak on that too. But the other thing one of the things this game has that Supermarket Simulator doesn't is obviously you can put down tables for people to like rent a table and play against other people for the card game.
Yeah.
But that also attracts like customers that smell.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's really good.
And they just have like a green cloud around them. So I think that's funny because I think at some point in the game you can do something to like kick those people out. Because I've noticed like
you can spray them with like deodorant.
You can spray. Okay, I haven't gotten that far in it, but like I have noticed too at night, there's always one person that just fucking stays and sits in the table like after like I'm getting ready to close. There's always one person that's always just chilling. It's like, dude, we're closing. Very much like real life. like you know, day's done. So, but again, I haven't really gotten that far. I haven't even done like the first like upgrade to the building or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because I might dive into modding it a little bit now that I understand the concepts.
I think I saw there's a lot of cool stuff too coming where like you can get cards graded and all that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
That's a cool idea for that game.
And that's the other element that like it reminds me of that back then because you can open packs and then sell cards individually, and then you obviously have a little binder with a collection of your own. But the card opening animation is very good.
I've seen it. I watched somebody stream it for like an hour, and the cool part about that too is I think they realized people are going to be opening a lot of cards. There's an option where you can speed that animation up.
Yeah, I sped it up because after the first time, I'm like, all right, this is too slow.
It's too slow.
Do something about that.
Right.
Yeah. Now it's just like, okay, it tells me if I got a rare one. I'm like, cool, I put that over here, sell it. But yeah, it's really cool. I easily see myself dumping a lot of time into it. So on the back of that, there was also a supermarket simulator update. I think it actually came out the day we recorded last time, so I hadn't had a chance to look at it. This is a big update for that game. So this introduces the tablet. So now instead of pulling this big ass computer up and slapping it down in the store and having to run over it and order items, I can just take the tablet and scan the UPC codes.
That's right.
I need to order more of this shit. It makes the whole morning like so much faster. They allow you to have 2 more stockers, so now you can have 6. The thing that they did, the thing that they added that I thought was going to be cool, and now I'm like, oh, this is too much like real life, and I don't like it. Is as you know, I don't know if I've explained on the channel. My supermarket is the Gold Cobra Market, named after the Limp Bizkit song. So when they do the update where you can play your own music, I'm gonna just blast Limp Bizkit songs all day.
Of course.
That'll be the customers. That's what they get to listen to. But I decided as part of the Gold Market or Gold Cobra Market, I'm just going to let everything be self-checkout. So I removed all my checkouts. I installed all self-checkouts. Well, and that worked great for like month, 2 months, whatever I've been playing the game. Well, this new update introduces, people can have problems at the self-checkout. You have to go help them now.
That's a little too real.
And it's just like real life where like literally a little icon will go off. They raise their hand like, I need help. And I'm just like, after 2 days of that, I'm like, all right, we're going to start ripping these out and putting
that's
regular
one of those things in real life where I think you should have to pass a test before you're allowed to use those machines.
And all it is when you walk over, you just do the checkout process for them. So you just hold the button. It's just like, all right, get you out of here. So that became too much.
People don't understand how to scan like 4 things.
Well, when you have, because I think I was running like 6 of them because I had no regular checkouts. I just was doing that too much. It became too much. So I was like, nope, we're going to rip these out, bring back the checkouts. But the tablet is a real game changer for that game. So the next update that they do is going to be the security cameras and people stealing shit. So I look forward to that. I'm sure it's going to take them a little bit of time to get that into the game, but I look forward to that update. With all of that, I dived into installing RetroArch to play some of my ROMs and stuff because I had watched somebody stream some old NES games this week, and I didn't realize what they were using at the time. Then I realized it was RetroArch, and I used to have it on a different computer a while ago, but I was like, I should install that, and maybe at some point I'll stream some of the older games and stuff for Horror Fest that I have in the past without having to dig out the NES Classic or the Super NES Classic because I have all those ROMs on those specific machines.
Right.
But it's a lot easier to just have one machine that has everything. So I installed it. I threw on the only thing that I have to find my NES and Super NES ROMs because I think they're on a drive somewhere that I put aside. But I have my PS1 ROMs. So I tested a couple PS1 games out and I might stream some Symphony of the Night and getting some of those retro achievements for that game.
There you go.
Nice.
Because that'd be a way I have not played Symphony of the Night yet. So, and it looks real good on an emulator. So, who knew? But the last thing that I checked out, and I checked it out last night, is I think we had talked like in the last 2 weeks about that Shrek DLC came out for Power Wash.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's been a while since the last time I played Power Wash. I did the Back to the Future. I've not touched any other DLCs.
You,
so
then, yeah,
there's other like there. So I got the Warhammer one. There was an Alice in Wonderland one I haven't looked at. I got that, and then there's this Shrek one. So the only thing I've looked at was Shrek. I've done a little bit of the first level, which is it's surreal because a little message comes up and it's from your buddy Lord Farquaad. And it's just like, come clean my kingdom. I'm like, boy, we're really getting into Shrek here. So, but it's more Power Wash, you know. Like if you enjoy that and you find that relaxing as I do, it's more DLC. Like they can make an infinite amount of DLC for this game until it gets to the point where it's like, all right, it needs to go on a new engine. And I think that's going to be a while because there's like the game doesn't look bad visually, so I think they could just easily pump out these tie-ins for the time being, and I'll keep playing them. So there's some other free ones that came out too. I just haven't touched those. So, but that wraps up what I've been playing. I'm gonna kick it over to you, Dan.
Well, I mean, the first thing I had to do to play anything really this week was I had to finally get rid of my fat PS5 and trade it towards a slim model, because we talked about it before, but certain games would, after 45 minutes of play, it would literally kill the system. And that's even after I took it apart, cleaned it, all that kind of stuff. So with the slim models being $450, it was probably the time to do it. So I went out and I swapped my fat one out for that and moved my SSD over and all that stuff. And lo and behold, I could play things for more than 45 minutes. So the only thing that was weird about the slim one, and I don't know if we probably talked about it before, but I didn't realize until I set it up, but it is just a digital edition with a disk drive attached to it. I didn't realize that that's how they sold them until during setup. It literally has you register the disk drive to the console, and then the button to release it is on the disk drive and not on the system. So it's an interesting thought for, not that I'm getting one, but should I ever get a Pro, could I just take this off and put it on there and it should work? Maybe.
Because in theory, if you were to do that and you wanted to trade in this system, it's just the digital system.
I just don't know what the rules are for registering a disk drive to a console.
I don't know that part.
How many times can you do it? How do you have to wait 6 months? Like there's got to be some kind of rule for it.
There's got to be something. I would think of it. I would think of it like you can change your home Xbox 5 times in a year.
Right.
So I would think there's probably some sort of rule.
And that's what this setting up this PlayStation is. I had to deactivate my other one.
Yeah.
So, and you can only deactivate and reactivate so many times within a year, which I get. But you would have to assume that I could transfer it to another console, but we'll see what happens, I guess. So because of that, I was finally able to play Astrobot for real this time and not have it die. I've played probably more than half of that game by now.
Okay.
I still love that game a lot. Like it's so
because it's probably not a long. It's like probably 20 hours.
No, if you want to get everything, like obviously you have to take your time and look around and kind of look. Nothing's ever like crazy hidden, but sometimes you have to look. That it's so good. Like it's probably the best example of what, like, not only the PlayStation can do, but what the controller can do.
Yeah.
It's the same way that like the original one was, where it just felt like a glorified like tech demo almost, but this just feels more of like a game built on it because you're collecting all these guys. And
it felt like a tech demo, but at the same time it gave me that at that time the promise of like, oh, maybe they'll actually use a lot of these features with the controller, and the only thing they really use
triggers,
is sometimes the haptic.
Yeah, depends on the game.
Trigger, but like Astrobot really uses the haptic.
It goes crazy on it. Like it's such a good game. Like I've started to unlock some of those like challenge levels where it's about like precision and stuff, and those can be frustrating, but eventually you get the hang of it and you can move on. They just released that first speedrun level. I haven't even touched that because I'm going to finish the game before I get into that stuff. I watched the video. It seems fine. Because they're not, again, that game's never meant to be too hard for anyone. It's meant for everyone to be able to play it.
Yeah.
But the game's just really fun with I know people call it like fan service and stuff, but to me it's fan service done the right way. Fine. Like it's fun to get all the special guys and then get their little accessories, and they hang out like in the plaza kind of a thing, and you can interact and they do different stuff. And like you can walk up to the Katamari guy and hit him, and you can get rolled up by his little ball, which is fun. just dumb little thing like that, like small puzzles here and there. But yeah, so I'm almost done, or I'm halfway done with that. So there's that. The other thing I played a lot of is more Zenless Zone Zero, just because I was in the mood for that type of like Genshin Honkai type game. This one I still maintain it is by far like the strangest one of them all. Yeah, because the thing about, like, obviously Genshin is a giant open world and you can kind of run around and do stuff. Honkai is like that, kind of shrunken down. This is even shrunken down even further, where it's more like instances and stuff. Okay. But this one, there's something about this one that I like more in terms of like the combat and I guess like the story it's trying to tell. It's not sensical because it's about like going into computers and all this other shit. But just like the style of the game is awesome. And but in true like Genshin Honkai fashion, it just has so many systems like running on top of each other, and just like every time you finish a story mission, it feels like I unlock some other kind of like brand new other thing to do, and like, that has nothing to do with anything you've done before. Like I finally got like more videotapes from my video store, but then like I can watch the videotape, but actually means like you're playing through the videotape, and it's just like that's like a character's story. It's still loot boxes and all that kind of stuff, and there's an event going on right now where try to get the S rank character, but I've spent 40 to 50 like redeems on this thing, and it's still not haven't gotten that one, so now I got to earn more currency to get that. It's a crazy game to play, and I can get kind of lost in it just because it feels like I'm just want to do one more thing, but it takes it's hours worth of stuff. What else did I play? I finished Lego Star Wars, that like complete thing.
You platinumed it?
I platinumed it. That game is insane. The amount of
I would say you're probably good on Lego game for a while.
Well, I want to play Lego Horizon, but yeah, I might at this point I might wait a year. To play that. Yeah. That game has so much shit in it. It is crazy. 1,200 of those little brick things, man. And you have to play the missions certain ways and all that stuff. And it was just like, by the end of it, I'm looking up guides to get these last like 12 bricks and exactly what you have to do. It's just like, I am burned out on that stuff. But that's over. What else? You and I played some more Outriders because we played. Yeah, a lot of this is because I can now. A lot of this is just trying to clean up stuff and get it off of my system and be done.
I think we realized after we were done that like we're pretty much done with the story of the game, and we'll be able to jump to the DLC.
We're very close. We're on like the last mission, but because we let the difficulty go up on its own every time, and we're on like the max difficulty,
it's
the end of this
rough
game
at times.
Is a slug. Like
it's rough.
That one fight, the time we played, it almost took like a half hour. Yeah, it was crazy. Just killing one dude.
He had 3 different health bars, and it just kept going.
He had 3 health bars. He just became a bullet sponge. He would throw like these like balls that would shoot stuff at you, and then he would summon other enemies. And it's just like the game decides that it just wants to be bullet sponge at the end of the game, which is kind of a downer.
It is a downer.
So there's that, and then the only other like thing I really played is. I told you I have the GameCube out. My son really wanted to play Mario Party, so we played around in Mario Party 4. Which is probably the one I like the most out of all of them. So that wasn't too bad. But yeah, man, like it's crazy to me how that franchise just kind of kept going and releasing like the same game every time. And like we only played 15 turns, and it felt like it took forever.
That probably felt like an eternity.
We got to like turn 10 or so, and he was like, "I think I'm done." I'm like, "No, man, we're gonna finish it out."
No, we got to finish it. Yeah,
we got to finish it. We're halfway through. Can't save it.
You got to do it. You got to teach him there. Yeah, no, we got to finish this.
Yeah, you signed up for 15 turns of Mario Party.
50.
No, I told him there's no way. And even then, it like defaults to 20. I was like, I can't do 20, man. 15 might be enough. But yeah, so there's that, and then that's pretty much all I played. Like I said, I'm trying to clean up stuff off my system so I can move on. to other stuff.
And he has no problem like jumping back and forth, like going from GameCube to Switch. Like visually, it doesn't.
He does not care at all. I think I told you his thing he's into right now the most is he's very into Pikmin right now.
Yeah,
but he goes back and forth. Like today, he played some more Pikmin 1.
Okay.
The other day, he played Pikmin 2. I don't have 3 or 4 for Switch yet, but he's very interested in getting those.
And Pikmin 1 and 2, he's playing on GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like there is the Remake. 1 and 2 thing for Switch, but I have these and it's hooked up, so I don't really feel like I need those. But God, he is so into Pikmin right now.
Does he even know that there's a 3 and 4 that exists?
For sure. We've seen it at the store.
Okay.
He knows all about it. He won't stop telling me about it. For whatever reason, like Pikmin is like his favorite franchise right now, which is kind of funny. But that's it for me.
Smart boy.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a weird
Pikmin
thing to
is
like.
A solid franchise.
They're good games. Yeah.
So I've been gone, but in that time frame of me being gone, I've actually been running through Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. My youngest found it and started watching videos on it, and so now he's kind of like dived into it. So now he's making me dive into it. So like we're playing it together. So he's been unlocking like levels and characters like crazy, and I mean I'm just like, dude, keep playing because like it helps me get through the game and unlock people. So I'm totally down for that. I was without power for probably about
because of the storm. Yeah,
almost 2 weeks, and then I still don't technically have internet right now. I have like I don't know if anyone else uses it, but T-Mobile home internet, and I mean it's been a solid save as far as it goes, work related stuff.
Just to have something, yeah.
Just to have it. So I mean I haven't been able to like really run online games on it just because it's using 5G towers, so it's not like anything that's really super stable. So I still don't have regular internet. So I don't know when it's scheduled to be up. My Xfinity Comcast people just keep sending me things like, "Oh, hey, there's an outage in your area," and I'm like, "No shit, Sherlock. I'm dealing with it right now." But yeah, so I've finally, when I got power back, I just kind of started like randomly playing little things. I downloaded that Visions of Mana demo a while back, and so I played through that because I visually like JRPGs and all of that, but my brain just can't handle getting into them a lot, and that's why I just don't. And I really liked the way that looked, and like I was super interested in the fact that the studio shut down right when they released it, which I thought was bananas. But I was like, you know what? Let me go and get this game, and since I had the demo, I was like, let me just load it up and let me see let me see what it's about, because I know the demo was not going to be long, and if I enjoyed it, maybe give me something to look forward to. I enjoyed it. Like I really enjoyed the demo. It felt like it was really solid. So I'm hopefully whenever I decide to upgrade, I will maybe play through it, but we'll figure that out whenever we get there.
I picked up a copy of it when right after they closed that studio down. Yeah, so I was like, shit, I don't know. And that's why I'm trying to clear this stuff off, is because that's actually like one of the next things I want to play, because I like that demo so much.
And Game Pass has what was it? They have like
the other two,
right? Is it Trials and then
Legend,
another one?
Legend, and then Trials of Mana. I think it was 2020 when that came out.
Mm-hmm. So I figured, I was like, well, if I liked Visions and I want to play through it, maybe then it'll give me a reason to kind of go back to those two while I don't have the ability I don't have the technically upgrade to play it right now, even though technically I guess I could get it through Steam and run it that way, but I just bought it for Xbox Series X, so I was like, why not just keep it? So I'm gonna try to run through them and just see how I like those two, because I really enjoyed it though. So I did that. I played a little bit of Little Misfortune. It's weird.
What is it? I've not heard of it, so I don't know what it is.
It's like a story. It reminds me of the Telltale games in a way. Okay. You kind of go through. This narrator is like narrating this girl's life, but like occasionally it gets dark because like in the very beginning she's like talking about how her mom is struggling and stuff like that, and then the narrator's like, oh well, you're gonna die today, and she's like, what? And he's like, never mind, don't worry about it. And like there's like little blips of like bad omens that keep happening, so you don't really know what's going on. Like the part I played through, we left her house, so we made the decision on whether or not we wanted to tell her mom we were leaving her house, and we decided not to tell the mom, so we just snuck out the house. Came across this dead dog, and we had the option to like poke a stick at it or walk away from it. So I don't know about you, but if I find a dead thing, I'm going to poke it with a stick. So I decided to do that. And come to find out, the dog belongs to a friend of ours. And as we're progressing through the level, we come across his house. The dude has hung himself inside the house. And she's like, oh, well, I guess you're not available to talk right now. And she just leaves the house. So like it's dark. Like it's really dark.
So it's like a dark humor game.
Yeah, it's a dark humor type of game. It's cute though. Like it's weird that you could say that about a dark humor game.
So but it has like a cutesy graphical style to it, but it's like a dark.
So. Yeah, but it's super dark humor when it comes to that. I didn't get to play any much more of it. Then I would say total maybe like an hour into it, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to come back to this and try through it. I loaded back up Ready or Not because I figured I needed to give it more of an opportunity, and I'm really trying to get better at keyboard and mouse based games because I really want to try only. Yeah, only. And I really want to just try and branch out, and so I figured that's probably the best way to start. And I got through one level, so super proud of myself. It's such a solid game. Like just the gameplay and the way it moves, like it's really good. It like just the fact that you you can command your people to kind of do whatever they need, but then like after the mission, so like if one of your guys gets shot, they go through like post-traumatic situation.
Oh really?
Yeah. So there's like parts where they're like, oh, this dude's in like the med bay, or this dude needs to go see a psychiatrist for a little while. So like you have to like technically boot them off of your team so they can get better, and if you don't, they just quit. Like they're like, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. So you can't
actually have like a mission or something where they like you force them to go on the mission and they fuck up.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I know what you're saying, but no,
they don't go that far.
No, not that far. But it's just cool little tidbits like that.
Yeah,
game is just it's super clean. I really hope I can get more into it. I really need to find something to where I can just get better keyboard based, because that's just my biggest problem. I never was, you know how they teach you to keep your hands on those keys? Yeah, I never like that. So I never,
that,
no, I'm a one finger type of dude and I'll die on that hill, man. So that, and I started the Mortuary Assistant. I saw it was playable with with controller, so I decided to dive into that. Not gonna lie, it's a tad bit creepy.
It's a creepy one.
Yeah, the first level you get to. So in the first level you get to like embalm somebody, but you have to like stitch her mouth closed, and that's kind of creepy. And then at another point you have to like stitch her eye. All in all, it's just a really creepy game. Yeah. Like it's kind of hard. Like it's just weird to get through. I'm gonna try to run through some more of it. I know it's got to be good. I've seen people play it online, so I'm really hoping to get behind it. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell. When I finally got power back, and I've been trying to do something and not just sit in the dark.
Well, we can kick over to news. There's been some news in the last 2 weeks. Actually, the first thing we're going to talk about, actually, I believe happened like right after the last time we recorded. It happened. It was announced on a Sunday night, which is weird.
It's weird.
343 Studios is no more. They have rebranded. They are now known as Halo Studios with a truly awful looking logo. I don't know if you've seen it.
It's not good.
It looks bad. And the big thing that they're trying to throw out here with the rebrand is that they are ditching their in-house engine and they are going to Unreal 5 like most studios are going to Unreal 5.
Well, that engine's existed since 4, right?
I want to say they built their own engine for 4 and have used that since.
That's a long time.
Because I think Bungie, I would assume Bungie probably left some of their engine for them to use. I don't know what the deal was when Bungie went in their own direction and made Destiny and left Microsoft. What parts of Halo stayed and what parts they kept. Obviously, they used that engine to make Destiny. So, but I don't know as far as that. But like it. I mean, there was a lot of problems with Infinite. One of the biggest problems that Infinite had getting that game out the door was its engine. So, but the bigger issues I have here, and I also did a video on this and outlined this, is the biggest issue I have is like rebranding the name of the studio is not going to fix the problems that Halo has had for the last decade.
No, right. It hides it. You know, they get to pretend that.
Well, and that's why I think they combine these two things into one announcement, which is, hey, we're rebranding, but also we're going to make this new Halo game on Unreal, which from what they showed, and I know it's just tech footage, but let's be real. If you looked at any of that tech footage they showed, it's very clear that the rumors are true that they're remaking the original Halo in Unreal 5. Like, that's what they're doing. So that rumor of like the next thing they put out is going to be a remake of the original Halo, which we said would probably be on PS5 as well, instead of the Master Chief Collection, which I still think is a mistake. I think they should put Master Chief Collection on PS5.
Well, yeah, because it includes one, but okay.
It includes one, but also like you still could do that and still put out this Halo remake, and they will both sell.
Sure.
Like, that's the thing, because it doesn't matter, because for the people that go and buy that, maybe they don't like what they do in the Halo remake, because who knows? You have the other game to go back to. So yeah, I don't see why they couldn't still do that, but it's very clear to me that's probably the first project. And they did say, I think it was a while ago, that they're prepping to have a really big thing for the 25th anniversary of Halo. So that lines up what would be the biggest thing that they could do: remake the original game.
Right.
So it seems very clear that's what they're doing. But again, like, my point is, rebranding this is not going to fix the baggage that comes with this studio and everything. Like, because again, for me, they've only made one truly great Halo game, which was 4. 5 wasn't very good. Infinite is not a bad game now, but boy, it took a long time to get where it was. Master Chief Collection, at the end of the day, is just a collection, but boy, did it take a long time to get it to the place that it is now. Because you remember what it was like when it launched. It was a broken nightmare.
Half of it didn't work. They didn't have playlists for half of the other half.
Yeah.
It was a complete and total mess. It seems to be their MO now. It's just like, we'll make a Halo game, we'll release it, and then we'll work on it for 5 years.
Well, the other problem too, and this is the thing that I think people don't realize with the development of Halo Infinite, that team, or they use the term team, they were just contractors they brought in and out every 18 months. So you'd have a contractor come in and work for 18 months on a part of a game, and then they would bounce because their contract's up, and they bring another person in to work on the same part, and they don't know what's going on because they haven't been here the whole time. So then they have to learn. Not only do they have to learn what the previous person was doing, they have to learn it on an engine that they're probably not very familiar with, which is why they're switching to Unreal 5, because that's kind of the industry standard now. So I get that part of it, and like, I'm 100% not against Unreal 5. I think that's a really smart move for them to do Unreal Engine 5 for Halo. But the name change, it doesn't do anything for me, because you can change your name to whatever you want. You're still the same studio that made those other Halo games. So we'll see, but I still think that the rumors, and that's my prediction, that the next thing is just a remake of Halo 1. So this was a much bigger excitement. After 10 years, we are going to get a sequel to Alien Isolation. We are finally going to get Alien Isolation.
That was a weird announcement.
A weird announcement of like, oh, hey, it's the 10th anniversary. By the way, we're going to make Alien Isolation 2.
Thank you so much for playing our game and keeping it. I mean, the thing about that game is crazy, is it's still popular. Like it's actually almost had like a resurgence lately.
It's still popular because it arguably is the best Alien game set in that franchise.
Sure, because they made it what an Alien game should be. Shouldn't be a shooter. It should be a survive.
They made it what an Alien game should be, and they respected the lore of that franchise without messing anything up. They made a smart decision. You play as Ripley's daughter.
Sure.
And it's set after the events of the first game, and nobody was upset by that in the game. And it made sense for what they were doing. It works perfectly for having an alien hunt you down.
Doesn't have
the entire game.
There's a twist at the end, right?
There's a twist.
We won't say what it is, but I think I know what it is.
The twist is great.
It's a good twist because it's like a good twist. You wouldn't have thought about it, but it makes sense.
Think about it, but then at the end, it clicks, and you're like, okay, that actually makes most of this game make a lot more sense now.
Yeah, it explains the game.
Yeah, fantastic game. I played through it probably 3 or 4 times over the years, so super excited. I mean, they could take whatever time they want, and it's not to say there haven't been other good Alien games like that. Co-op shooter that came out a couple years ago is not bad, and the XCOM one that came out recently, the Dark Descent, that's not a bad game either. That's pretty good, but this is the best if you want like a true, like, this is what an Alien game should be set in this franchise. This game.
You think they could make that sequel like co-op in some way?
I think so now.
I think it'd be a cool idea because, like, imagine if you're playing and you get separated.
Yeah.
Oh god.
And like somebody's in like one of you ends up like locked in a control room and you're watching cameras or something.
Yeah.
Like that's a cool thing. It's like you got to open the door for me kind of a thing, and then there's parts where you are together, but you split off.
I think now 10 years later, I think technology has come far enough that you could easily make that a cooperative experience.
I think that'd be cool.
That'd be awesome. That would be something when you're talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, because then it's not just the first game again. Because I think that's something that might be dangerous about this is how do you make a sequel to that and have it not just be you're on a different spaceship escaping a different alien,
right? Well, and the other thing I'll say is, the twist of that original game is great. Now that twist is done, you can't do it again.
No,
yeah, that's the problem. So you can't do that again. So I don't know. I'm very interested to see what they do. I mean, I'm open to whatever they want to do. I'm just glad we're finally making a sequel. It's not like an iPhone game or something. Remember that was the thing they did 5 years at the 5th anniversary. Like, oh yeah, everybody thought they were going to do too. It was an iPhone game. They did that VR game too, I think. But this is going to be a true sequel. So
it's cool.
Pretty cool. Speaking of things that have been long rumored for a long time and possibly in development for a while, we have finally gotten a launch date and a confirmation that the PC version of Red Dead Redemption exists.
Weird.
And it is out at the end of this month. It is $50.
Too much. Way too much.
It should be my thing is it should be $20. I think that's a fair price for a 14-year-old game.
I think you could push 30 if we're going to include. Is Undead Nightmare?
It has Undead Nightmare.
Then you could argue 30.
It has all of the DLC except for the multiplayer, like gambling and stuff, from my understanding. So
that's a huge missed opportunity too. Like I get why you didn't put the multiplayer stuff in the console one. Come on. PC one?
PC?
You know how many people? Do you know how many people would be playing that online on like Steam day one?
Do you know how many people probably gamble in GTA Online?
A lot.
Ton.
A lot.
Yeah.
But like, you can't tell me that Red Dead Online wouldn't have been huge on PC.
Oh, it would be huge
because that one was good.
Yeah, no, we played a lot. I played a lot. We talk about that Tomahawk glitch all the time.
It's fantastic
because it's fantastic.
It auto aims at people's foreheads.
My thing was the fun and enjoyment of that game online didn't even come from like playing deathmatch or anything like that. It was just going into those lobbies,
going in and hanging out,
because the lobby was just I think you could have 16 people in the lobby. And you just roam the entire map.
Yeah, it was the
entire map from like this side to that side. You could be in and do whatever you want.
Right, and then you could see on the map like, oh man, somebody's coming, or like you can go. Remember, you could go
tell you where the people were.
You could go take down the forts, and the people would show up and just help you take down the forts.
Yeah, and then after like a day cycle, they reset the forts. You can go take them down again.
It was fun.
It was fantastic multiplayer.
That was like, especially given the time and
2010.
Yeah, like given the
think
time
about that. Yeah,
and like GTA 4 wasn't very good online for that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Red Dead was like jump online, fuck around, kind of do whatever you want, and it was really fun.
Yeah. But no, it's the kind of thing where I threw it on my Steam wish list. I'll wait for it to go on sale. I really want to play.
So heavy though.
I really want to play through Red Dead Redemption 1 again. but I just because I've had the PS5 or PS4 version sitting on that wish list forever too, but it never goes cheap enough. So, but I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, I probably do want to play through that game again. So, I don't know what truth to this there is, but people have found that like the developers at Concord were messing around with some of the files internally for that game.
It's still kind of like the question of updated.
Yeah, so it's begging the question of like, is this the free to play aspect of it that they're working on right now for like a potential relaunch of that game?
I mean, you got to think there's something going on because otherwise there's no reason to be in there. I mean, maybe there is, but it's not like it's up and people are playing and they don't sell it. It's literally dead.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think that, I don't know when this will air. I know the first episode of that Amazon show is like December or something, but do you think that they try to get this up as a free-to-play game around the time of that episode? Because they're still going to air that Amazon episode of that show.
Maybe they see how many people watch the episode of that show. Because they'll be able to get numbers. It's on Amazon.
Yeah,
I kind of want to watch it just as a curiosity. I think this will explain. Yeah, like, okay, now I get what you were going for.
I don't think that. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be anything special that matters in the long run. But it's interesting that they didn't just cancel that too.
It's weird. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's already far enough along.
Yeah, but episodes of TV and stuff get made all the time that don't come out. They'll cancel TV shows halfway through a season and then won't air the rest of the stuff.
It's
one episode of this thing.
I can give you a prime example of that. You remember a couple of years ago that shitty, and I watched it, that shitty Idol show on HBO?
Yeah.
Where it was literally 6 episodes. And before they went to air the 5th episode, behind the scenes, they said, this thing has been a disaster. They cut out an entire episode and then said, to be more frugal, we're just going to put up this 5th episode and be done.
There was
it was a janky ending, but the show was already terrible.
There was a show I watched a real long time ago on NBC. It was called The Cape. And it was like a weird superhero show. Mm-hmm. That show, it sucked.
I didn't watch it.
It sucked. But that show was so bad that like halfway through, they gave up and said, hey, you want to watch the rest of it? You can go to NBC.com and watch the rest of it. And I was like, holy shit. And we're talking like
2005?
No.
Early?
No. 2010-ish.
Okay.
But even still, we're talking like streaming wasn't a huge thing. But you want me to go to NBC.com and watch this in a viewer to get the end of this?
Well, the other thing too is like at that time, like even in 2010, like tablets weren't as big as they are today. So like you expect somebody to go sit in front of their computer for 12 hours of TV.
Netflix was kind of the only thing at the time, and even then it was the earlier days of that stuff.
Yeah. So no, but yeah. I don't know. We'll see. As far as Concord, I don't know if it makes a comeback or not. I still think they do something. But who knows?
I feel bad for those people that bought that game now.
Is the price still high for that? Like, what is the going price?
I haven't even. I'm going to look right now. I have not.
Look right now. I'm curious.
But
like, did it maintain its crazy price? Probably not.
I just don't see like anybody who wanted it bought it.
I feel like it's probably $40. The price it would be.
I'm seeing a lot on
45.
eBay. Yeah.
I can buy one on eBay right now for $45 sealed, free shipping.
Yeah,
I think I'm good. Like,
this guy's got a 28.
There you go. See, nobody gave a shit.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing where if I could get that game for 20 sealed, sure, I'd put it on the shelf.
Sure.
But
yeah, even a cool thing to have.
Even 45 sealed, that's too much.
That's too much.
That's too
Oh
much.
my gosh! Looking on eBay, this dude has like 30 copies of the game he's trying to sell. Like,
yeah, he probably bought a whole fucking box.
Yeah.
This guy right here selling for 50. It says 250 sold.
I got morons.
Jeez.
145 available, 250 sold. $50, free shipping.
God.
If it said make an offer, I would type in 25 for the hell of it. But it doesn't.
There you go.
Man, eBay make an offer eBay stuff. Wild.
Yeah,
people will accept it, man. If it's something that's been sitting on, I've been really getting back into this old like baseball collectible card game.
Yeah,
where it's like you roll a dice and all this kind of stuff.
Okay,
but these cards are 20 years old.
Okay,
and I didn't think there'd be a huge market for it. There's a couple people out there like bidding against me, but every now and then it's like buy it now for something. And the one thing I was like, I'll offer the guy half and see what he does. accept it immediately. It's in like 2 minutes.
Because it's probably been sitting there forever.
Yeah, because it's an old box of cards that only people like me who played the game 20 years ago care about.
Yeah.
So that's what if I could ever see a Concord like make an offer thing, I'll offer you $20.
There you go.
Wow.
Metaphor Refantasio. I don't know how much
Persona
you know
6?
about it. Heard it. Yeah, like it is basically Persona 6. Has already sold over 1 million copies. Not shocking. Game had a lot of buzz around it, like even before it was coming out. I have not really watched much of anything on it. Like I'm gonna play it because it for all intents and purposes it is Persona 6. So, but it is on my Black Friday list of games to look for.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to.
Because it's not actually like I was talking to Matt about it earlier today. Like the thing not right now is like I realized my next couple of games are JRPGs because I have East 10 next week, and then I have Dragon Quest 3 HD whatever like in 3 weeks
in the middle of November.
Yeah. And then I'll have, I want to pick up this Metaphor Refantasio game. So it's like, I'm going to have some RPGs to choose from. I have Visions of Mana as well. So, but I think when I get through Silent Hill, I'm actually going to open up and just jump into East 10 because I was watching some reviews of it today. And as you know, because you played East 8, you don't really have to play them in order. Like they're pretty much standalone stories.
Yeah, they're just like contained stories with that guy.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be able to fly through 9 as quickly as I want to, and I don't want to rush through one of those games. I want to enjoy it for what it is. So I think I'm just going to jump into 10. So I'm super excited. After watching that, like it's going the direction I want it to go. So and some of the new stuff they've added, you can skateboard in that game. I don't know if you saw.
Hell yeah!
It's either a skateboard or a surfboard. I can't figure it, but
hell yeah!
Like he's clearly doing that. So he was grinding the air.
Hell yeah!
I'll say that.
Hell yeah!
It was like a little line I think it's a directional line, but it looked like he was grinding.
Fine by me.
I'm into it. This is bizarre, but we had that Tomb Raider collection that came out in February that had 1, 2, and 3. They have decided because of how successful it was to do the next 3 games, which that includes Angel of Darkness.
Wow.
Which is wild to think that we're going to do that one.
Terrible game.
It was broken.
I remember that game came out while I was working at Game Crazy, and we put it in a PS2. It's like, oh man, new Tomb Raider, let's check it out. Because that's the first PS2 one. Because the other 2 in the collection are 4 and Last Revelation, I think, right? Okay.
I believe
the Dreamcast / PlayStation one. I remember, first PS2 when I'd read articles about it, it's supposed to be like darker in tone. That game sucks. Like it is bad. It controls bad.
Because what was the game that came out after Angel of Darkness? Was that when they did that first remake of the original?
Angel of Darkness is what cost Eidos to license.
That's right.
And then they moved it. Yeah, and then they moved it to Crystal Dynamics, who made Legend, which I actually like a lot. Mm-hmm. The Legend was a PS2 and 360 game. Then they made Underworld.
I played it 360.
Underworld
I like too,
which is pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then obviously we got The Break, and then we got the True Trilogy.
Trilogy, which was great.
Fantastic games. Actually, I'm considering playing through all those again. But yeah, Angel of Darkness, it has a weird gameplay mechanic where it's like. It's one of those games where it's like the more you do something, the better you get at it.
Okay.
So early on in the game, you're not good at anything. And that includes like jumping, climbing, like everything.
I
remember just the first level. It's like you're climbing up the outside of a building, like in the pouring rain, and you have to like climb up these gutters and stuff. And I remember we were playing it literally in the store, like 2 of us together, and we were like, we can't even figure this out. This game sucks. So
I remember there wasn't a portion or something in that game that was game breaking. From what I remember.
Don't know if I even ever got that far.
Because
to be fair,
it was one of those. I mean, again, this is PS2. It was pre-patching games.
Yeah. This was you got what you got. Sorry, bro.
Who wants to replay that game in 2024? Like, I can't understand the other 2, but
I would be interested
if it's fixed.
Someday I'll buy this collection for $20 or whatever.
Yeah. That's what I did with the first one.
Yeah. The only downside to this too, if it's like the first one, there's no platinum for doing the whole game. It's just
it's weird. Isn't it they did that platinum for the PS4
if you buy the
version?
PS4 version, you get a platinum. But it's where they segment and like bring the game apart. But I would be interested to play it again now just to kind of see if it if it is as bad as I remember,
I can't imagine.
It's got to be terrible, especially after having played those 3. And like, I still haven't even bought Legend yet. I want to buy Legend and play through that again. But I cannot believe they're just putting out Underworld. Or not Underworld, Angel of Darkness.
Angel of Darkness. It's wild. That was the first thing, because I think even the article headline will put it in here. We remaking one of the weirdest ones or whatever. I'm like,
remember too, like that was around the time where like that spawned almost kind of a subgenre of like Alias got a game, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer had 2 games.
There were 2 Buffy games. Yeah,
actually, the first Buffy game, not bad.
Yeah, I played a little bit of that.
I do remember I played Alias because for the longest time I was the only person who ever rented it from Hollywood Video.
That's fantastic.
Because you could see like the list of people. I was the only person who ever rented Alias from Hollywood Video.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, pretty good. Claim to fame.
Next news article, we actually have an email. I'm going to read that first. Grant from Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin. Hey dudes, curious what you all think of the new Analog 64. Are any of you planning on getting it? So yes, that alludes to they have announced the next Analog.
Well, they announced it a year ago.
They announced it a year ago, yeah, but this is the true announcement of it's going to be ready to go. I think doesn't it ship in the spring?
Probably. Analog is
February
I don't think they gave a date. Yeah, they just gave like a window, but the reserves go live for it on the 21st. And that is the analog. It's known as the Analog 3D. So it's a 64. It allows you to play your 64 games in 4K, which like I would have been fine with 1080p.
Those games able to play in 4K?
I don't know, man. Like, there's gonna be a lot of ugly ass looking 64 games.
You're gonna see some real smooth polygons.
Look, I love all the wrestling games that came out on the 64, but I would not pay for this thing just to play those.
This thing is $250.
It is $250 without a controller. The controller is an additional $40, or obviously if you have a 64 controller, you can plug it in.
But yeah, the short answer is fuck this thing. Like, no way.
The redesign, their like 8-bit do redesigned 64 controller, awesome.
Well, I have some of those like brawlers.
It's like 64s. The retro fighter. Yeah,
I have some of those, which would be fine. But $250. Well, the other important thing is all this thing does is play 64 games.
Yeah,
it cannot do anything else. You cannot load ROMs into it. You can't.
It doesn't support Open FGA.
Right. It has nothing.
FPGA. So yeah, you can't load ROMs into it like the other systems. I can't dump ROMs off it. Like that is the one part of it. It's kind of disappointing. So yeah, I mean it is tailor made for a specific market, but as we know, there is a market for a high end 64.
I think they did say that it supports save states at least, which is something.
It has a new version of like their like OS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
which their OS doesn't really do much outside of exist. A lot of people thought it would do a lot more for the Pocket, but it really doesn't do jack on the Pocket. The Pocket's made for playing your old games or putting an SD card in it.
Yeah.
This thing though, like I get why it's expensive. I can imagine the cost of making a 4K Nintendo 64 is probably on the high end, but I just don't. This is for like the hardest of hardest N64 people.
This is for the people that have their full set collections, that want a great way to play
the neon games. Sign, their T-shirt, their hat.
The people that are still playing Mario Kart 64 every weekend in 2024.
Even though you can play many of the decent stuff you want on the Switch, and the Switch probably on the Switch too, which should probably be 4K. So.
Or you can just grab your GameCube that has a handle, play Mario Kart there.
Play the true Double Dash. Play the true
Double Dash instead.
I don't know. I'm on the record of the 64 as a trash system anyway.
Yeah.
So $250 to play it in HD is nothing to me. No.
Because I think we were talking the other day. Like obviously the original NES one was very expensive. I never got.
Well, that was meant to be like a collector's special.
Yeah.
It's made out of metal. It's $500.
But I have the Super Nintendo one, and that was $189. I was
happy to pay for that one,
and I love that thing. So yeah, and that means a little bit more to me for that generation. Mm-hmm. But this, for just maybe wanting to play those couple wrestling games, or for the person in me wanting to play Castlevania 64.
No, if it had a way to just plug in a USB something and you could play any 64 game, then there's a value to it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
But if I've got to physically own it, no.
The other thing for me too is I don't have obviously I played a ton of 64 games at that time when I owned a 64 as a kid. Going back to them today, it's not a generation that I have returned to very much. Anytime I return to that generation, it's PS1 stuff or Dreamcast, because that was kind of in the mix there. But I imagine a lot of that for me today, returning to try and play some of those 64 games, it would be just unplayable. Because I think of being really excited for Jet Force Gemini on the Rare Replay.
Oh man!
And then just try and being like, I can't do this.
No, I love that game. On 64, I played that game all the time. It's unplayable on a modern console. I don't know if I could ever go back to that. Or even Perfect Dark, or a game I played probably 1,000 hours of with friends. I can't anymore. And Banjo-Kazooie, there's a better way to play it. And I don't think Mario 64 is a good game. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, there is a group of people that agree with that.
Yeah, but I would say stuff like Mario Kart, sure, that is fun. And I think Mario Kart will always be fun. A game like Pokemon Snap is kind of fun to just kind of play. And the stadium games are not much of a game, but okay. And
even as a kid who liked the 64 as a kid,
sure,
I always treated Mario 64 as more of a tech demo of what Mario could be on the 64 than actually a real Mario game compared to everything else. So,
well, and Ocarina and Majora's Mask, there's a better way to play them.
There are better ways to play those now. The only thing you're really missing out on are those damn wrestling games. Because
those are fantastic.
That was the King era.
Because you can't get those again.
No, and that was the King era of those games.
Yeah,
every one of them, WCW, WWF, whatever, they were all great.
Yeah, I got all of them.
So, fantastic. They're all great.
Yeah, agreed though. But $250 for a console like that is just like you guys say. I mean, the N64 wasn't the best generation of gaming, and I can't imagine paying $250 just for 4K. No, it's just not worth it.
To not do anything else over if I just got my 64 out and hooked it up.
Exactly.
Other than 4K. Right. I think Kyle, you and I were joking, it has a Wi-Fi adapter in it.
Yeah.
Just for updates?
I assume because it's not you're going to be able to play people online.
Imagine a world where that lets you play Smash Brothers. That lets you play Smash Brothers online.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. The funny part is, this thing's going to sell out anyway. And here's a secret. You really want one? Just wait. They're going to do the fantastic fucking colors in a year.
Oh, yeah.
Look at how many fucking pockets are. I feel like an idiot for buying them with a white one. When they have orange and green and all the colors, and it's
pay a little bit more money to get an aluminum one.
Yeah. But they're going to release fantastic N64s.
Absolutely.
Get a watermelon, man. Wait for
They already have plans for that, I guarantee you.
Get maybe they'll do a Pikachu one.
It's the kind of thing too where I look back on it now and I think I think part of the reason why as a kid I gravitated towards getting a PS1 was because I just got tired of the 64. And I just realized man, and once I got a PS1, I wouldn't sit here and say my 64 collected dust, but I played the PS1 a lot more.
But look at the 64 compared to the PS. It has no RPGs. The sports games are bad.
64.
Outside of
fighting games, versions of fighting games were bad compared.
Resident Evil 2, bad.
That's a very bad.
Stuff that was supposed to come out for. Remember, Final Fantasy VII was almost a 64 game at one point until they realized there's no fucking way this thing can work. Remember, they had to put out a memory thing for it to just work with certain games later on.
I remember having to go and get that thing.
And you know what the crazy part about that is?
That to my parents.
Donkey Kong 64, the Donkey Kong 64 needed it to the point where they shipped it in the box because there was a thing where I don't think, maybe it's a wives' tale or whatever, but they supposedly if you didn't have that thing in there, the game would just crash. But if it was in there, the game would work, and they didn't know why specifically. So But then, like Perfect Dark, you don't have one of those. You can play half the game. Majora's Mask. I think you needed it from Majora's Mask too.
I believe you needed it from Majora's Mask.
I think that was a game where it was required, but it did not come with it.
Okay, you definitely needed it for Perfect Dark. I know that
you needed it for Perfect Dark to play more than half of the game. It would give you a little pop-up that says like, "Hey, you can only play like single player." That's it.
And also say like that was the thing too, where like that was what made me return to the system was Perfect Dark.
Oh god,
because there was like a good like 2 years where like I still played games on the 64, but I primarily was renting and playing things on PS1, and then Perfect Dark like brought it back for that.
Three buddies and I, we would play that game every fucking day, nonstop.
That whole summer, every day,
because it had 4-player co-op against bots. It was incredible.
Like destroyed, just utterly demolished that game.
And that was after we played GoldenEye for so long. But then Perfect Dark, once Perfect Dark came out, GoldenEye go on the shelf. Done.
Yeah. But yeah, I now like, it's funny to even think back on it now. Like, yeah, even at the time, I consciously realized that I just had kind of outgrown that system a little bit, and
it outgrew
jumped
itself.
On the PS1.
It ran out of stuff. That's what there's a reason. There was
not anything on the 64 like Metal Gear Solid.
There's a reason there's less than 364 games, but there's like 800 or 900 PlayStation games.
PlayStation, yeah,
maybe even 1,000. I don't remember the last.
Well, also that moving over to CD, technology really helped the PlayStation. They helped keep the cost down.
Yeah.
So, because remember that was we were also battling at the time of like we laugh today at $70, but like man, there were $90 cartridge games.
60, 70, 80 was not a weird price.
It was a lot easier to look over at the PS1 and be like, well, this game is only $40 over here.
I remember I always use this as an example. Is there was one day my family and I, we were in Chicago and we were at Tower Records. Remember Tower Records? And they had 64 games there. And I remember seeing Harvest Moon 64 was $79.99. And we're talking, this is like 98, 99.
Okay.
That's $80 30 years ago.
Yeah, unheard of.
Unheard of. It's crazy.
And that's why I was forced to rent most things. Like getting and buying a video game until I was in high school was like an unheard of that. Where like
special
it would be
occasion only.
It was a special occasion. It'd be a serious conversation. Like I remember having to explain. And I had a very good reason why, but when Perfect Dark came out, I had to explain why I was going to buy and not rent the game. And my explanation was because I rented GoldenEye 37 fucking times.
Yeah.
Because I did, and I counted it to prove my dad wrong, because he's like, what? Because his argument was always, well, you can rent the game, you're never going to exceed what the game costs. And I did with GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Damn. But he never would let me buy that game.
That's why we had a standing rule in my house where it's like, if my dad realized I was renting the game more than like 2 or 3 times, I couldn't do it again.
Okay.
But I was also lucky enough to have a dad who, while he didn't play video games, he at least like appreciated them and thought they were cool. Yeah. Even though they were like beyond his limits. Like we would play Nintendo together, but by the time 64 rolled around, he just didn't
64 is what killed it.
Yeah.
Now I understand today. I look back, I get why my parents bounced out on the 64. I can't play this.
But I remember like when I bought Zelda, because it was like for Christmas, it was like, what game do you want? And I said, oh, I want Zelda, or if you can't find it, something else. And then, we were at Best, and they bought me Blitz because I didn't want Blitz, but
yeah.
We were at Best Buy and they were rolling that little card around. I found a Zelda on it, and I showed my dad. I was like, "This is here's Zelda right here." He goes, "We'll just get it." He's like, "We're just gonna get it." And I was like, "Oh." And then like when we got home and I played it, he watched me play it like an hour.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, it's cool." But the cost of that thing then was just wild. And for what it ended up being, I think it's too much. But it's a Nintendo tax. It still exists. You're still paying it on Switch.
You still pay. Most of the games are still $10 more. Yeah.
And some of them are $10 more for a chip that doesn't even have the game on it.
Exactly.
Which is crazy. But now that the 64 is out for analog, what do they have left?
Haven't we discussed like they probably wouldn't do a PS1 or?
I don't know. That other company did make that thing that did that, but I would be.
There's really no reason to do a Dreamcast.
No. It would be cool if they did.
It'd be cool if they did, but
I think a PS1 would be really cool if they did that.
We're on this flip side. If you made a PS1 and it was $250, 100%, I'd be like,
and make it where Oh, you know,
like that's I'd be okay.
But the caveat for that is make a PS1 that's 250, and then, oh, you know what? It turns out it just plays burned discs. We didn't put in any kind of protection to stop that. Something like that, where it's like, can you play ROMs on the Pocket? Well, we didn't say you couldn't. It's like, we're not going to say you can.
But at that point, I'd almost rather them go like, well, it's a PS2, but it plays PS1 games as well.
Yeah, but you gotta think all of this is about like licensing and copyright and like how far behind stuff is.
Yeah, I think we're hitting the limit now.
And that's why I think PS1 might be all we have left.
Yeah.
But if you could make me a cool looking PS1, make it I want it to be a top loader. I don't want any trays because trays break.
Yeah.
Make it a top loader. And and somehow it plays CDRs.
Make it a top, or make it like the systems now where it just sucks the disc in and out.
Even then, like those could break.
They could.
And for something like that, I would like just like a top load thing, and then it has a USB plug in it for reasons. Like, that's what I would want.
Why is that there? Don't worry about it.
It's for updates. That's how you update it.
Yep. So that would be cool. And like I said, on the flip side, I would pay $250 for a PS1 that did all that.
I'd be more inclined to buy that again if it, if it played more than just official games.
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point, if all you're going to sell me is a 4K version of something that can only play original game software, then I'm not that interested.
There's ways that you can do that.
I can literally do all of this in a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, on the back of the Halo announcement, there's been other stuff coming out of like canceled Halo projects and stuff. The one thing which was heavily rumored for a long time, but that Halo Infinite Battle Royale mode was definitely real. Now we've learned this week. That they're saying could have been a game changer. I don't know about that, but not surprising.
I don't think any Battle Royale game could change the game at this point.
At this point.
You had PUBG, which was, the quote-unquote realistic one, and then you have Fortnite, which is everything else.
Yeah.
Exactly. On the backs of the Metaphor game, Silent Hill 2 Remake has also sold 1 million copies in its first week. I'm really not surprised.
No. I think even with like the will it be good mystery around it,
the reviews kind of hit pretty early enough that it was like, okay, it actually seems like it's going to be all right.
I think that placated everybody who was on the fence. It's like, it's safe to buy.
Exactly.
And by all accounts, it was.
To piggyback off that, Bloober Team, so there was, and I'll get into it later, there was an Xbox partner preview program thing the other day that actually had some interesting announcements, but one of them was Bloober Team, which has announced their next game, which is just like another creepy shooter type game called Chronos: The New Dawn.
I watched the trailer.
Yeah, it looks okay, but it's weird that that's their next thing. But I think a lot of it seems like one of the articles I saw this week was a lot of their future with Silent Hill was going to depend on how well this thing sells.
Oh, I would assume.
And I think now that it's sold well, the question is, what do they do next? Do they remake another game? Do they do a new Silent Hill? I would really like a remake of 1, but I feel like they probably would just remake 3.
No, you never.
Because that's the other one everybody likes. I don't. I famously am not a fan of 3.
I like 3.
I will play a remake of it and maybe change my opinion, 20 years later.
Yeah, the Chronos game, obviously they didn't show a damn thing about it, but
no.
As long as I get to play chess with that old lady in the game, I'm good.
There you go. Yeah.
Make it a minigame.
There you go.
Chess minigame.
Kuwait has blocked all sales of Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Are we really surprised considering where the game's set at?
This happens every time with
it does.
where these games are set.
I like how they immediately just canceled all and then offered full refunds for people that had pre-ordered it. This was another thing that was... I'm just going to go down the list of what was announced as partner preview because this next thing that I have in here was from that as well.
Yeah.
So there's actually some interesting stuff. And this was not all stuff that is Xbox only, but a lot of this stuff is also on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. So we got the confirmation that the other Alan Wake DLC is out next week, which I think isn't that
when the physical copy comes out.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So I'll probably sit down at some point and play those 2 DLCs now that that's all done. As we just talked about, Bloober Team's Chronos: The New Dawn is going to be out in 2025. There were they had some announcements of things that just kind of randomly hit on Xbox like at the time. So there was a shooter, Blind Fire, that Animal Well game that was out earlier this year. I never played it, but I
didn't
know
either,
what
but it looks cool.
That hit. One of the bigger ones, I don't know if I put it in here, but we joked. I think I did actually. No, maybe I didn't, but we'll talk about it right now. We got another new trailer for Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza that showcases the ship naval combat, which looks better than Skull and Bones. So they're just going for it.
It's crazy.
It looks so good.
I know.
And it looks so ridiculous that and that's my other thing is like probably January. I'm going to have to sit down and finish I gotta play it. Infinite Wealth. Yeah. I need to finish it. Mouse PI, which is another one of those. It looks like the graphics kind of look like Cuphead. Looks like a pretty interesting game. That's going to come to Xbox next year. Sequel to Subnautica 2 is confirmed for both Xbox and Game Pass. Again, that'll be on everything. They had some other like stuff that was here. Nothing like again, these were smaller announcements.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them I kind of pass over. The Phasmophobia is finally coming out at the end of this month for console. That was delayed like a year.
Way too late.
But the last like really big announcement here, and this is kind of interesting because I thought this project was canceled.
I could have sworn it was.
Yeah, which is the Remedy in-universe. Now it was multiplayer. Now it seems like it's co-op. Called FBC Firebreak. So it's the thing that's interesting is this will launch into Game Pass next year, but it's also going to launch into PlayStation Plus Extra.
That's cool.
At the same time.
Well,
so it's going to be on both systems. So I'm assuming it will probably have cross-play, cross-platform. But yeah, I didn't, honestly, I didn't even really watch the trailer for it to see like what it's about. I mean, I don't need to be sold on it.
Yeah, I'm sold by the fact that it's in the universe. It's all that matters to me.
So, I mean, yeah, we'll talk because you probably are. Once you get some other stuff done here, you're probably going to be able to jump into Alan Wake 2 pretty soon.
Well, yeah, because you know how I am, where like I like to play. I do play two games at the same time, but I just have to have them be different from each other.
Yeah.
So Visions of Mana and Alan Wake 2 are completely different games I can play. So I'm excited for that. I was actually looking up the release date on that today, and I was like, oh shit, that's next week.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah. But that's a good deal because it's like $10 more than a normal physical game is, but you're getting everything.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted.
2 DLCs. Like, and it's a physical copy.
Yeah, if I wanted a physical copy, and I was holding out for that, and then when they came out and said, "Oh, it'll exist, and it's just going to be the whole fucking thing," okay, perfect. It's exactly what I wanted.
And I mean, I wouldn't say that game. I'm sure there's been patches and stuff to it, but it wasn't a game that really had any issues at launch when I played it. So
no, their stuff is generally solid. The only thing I can remember about Control is you couldn't play it on a regular PS4, but that's not
Control. Yeah, like the problem with Control is like it really was a game that I feel like they probably could have held it back another year and made it a fantastic launch game for the new systems, and I think that would have been better, but because the updated versions of that game are way better in terms of how they run, but whatever, like that game was amazing. So I should be able to pronounce this game. Tales of Kinzera Zhao.
Yeah,
I don't know if you.
Close enough.
I'm interested in playing this game. So to be fair, it's a Metroidvania. The guy behind it, and we talked about him before. He was on that show that I watched and nobody watched. That was on HBO, Raised by Wolves, which I loved, adored. It ended on a cliffhanger. I'll never understand why that guy was hanging upside down. But and then he also was in the most recent season of House of the Dragon. He's a cool actor. I'm not going to butcher his name because that I won't butcher. But he had this studio. He put out this game earlier this year, and the thing about it is he unfortunately when the time his game came out, he did get roped into the Gamergate 2 stuff because they did use Sweet Baby a little bit on it. But I feel like this guy, like, first of all, has no idea what that whole thing really is, but his game I felt kind of suffered unfairly for this because his game, from everything I've seen of it, it's a pretty like deep story about grief and loss. And it's a very personal story to this specific actor. And I feel like it was kind of roped unfairly into all the Gamergate 2 DI stuff. So it's a game that's been on my list for a while that I want to play, but this studio obviously really suffered because of that, and the game did not sell because of that. And even though it's been on sale, so that whole team pretty much has been let go. It sounds like today, I think, was the announcement actually. So, but they're still talking about making other stuff. So that's the part of it that's weird. So I don't know, but that is a game I probably Black Friday. I'm looking to. I want to check it out before the end of the year because it is a Metroidvania. I'm interested. So
gotcha.
You threw this in here and I laughed because I think I saw you typing it in when I was going to throw it in here.
Yeah, you were in the memo thing when I started typing it.
Spider-Man 2 is coming to PC in January, which not surprising. It was always going to happen.
Right.
But the more surprising thing is that they're not going to make any DLC for Spider-Man 2.
It's odd because that game leaves... Sad. Specifically, the Carnage thing is left open. Like, it's and it was even like, we're gonna go finish this. It really seemed like the DLC was gonna be Carnage based.
Yeah.
And I guess what we're doing is just holding everything back for 3, which I guess is fine. But
well, do you think it's because they're pushing a lot of this team to go work on Wolverine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think they have to be focused on Wolverine right now, and making a couple more things for Spider-Man is. I get why it's not a priority. I just think from a narrative standpoint, it's a bummer because
it is. They totally set that up.
It's okay to leave some of the stuff open, like the Chameleon stuff. Leave it open, and like Norman knowing who he is, or not knowing who he is, and like whatever at the end of the
that's the more overarching.
Sure, but the Carnage thing really fucking seemed like we had all these missions throughout the game that set up that he is Carnage. And then he gets the thing and gets away, and now we're going to have to wait 4 years to play that? How long is it going to be?
Like, I remember even when I finished that section, like, oh, this seems like the part they cut out to
more of the story for a DLC. There was one more thing left, and it could have been a year later, Carnage DLC, whatever, and it just doesn't exist.
Very odd choice.
Strange.
But like I said, I imagine. Do you think Wolverine? Do you think that could make it out as a holiday game next year?
I don't know.
Or do you think it's 2026?
The most stuff we've seen on is the leak stuff, and there wasn't much there.
I don't know.
I guess maybe it could be next year. When did they do that big Spider-Man thing before they release it?
Like May of 2023.
So like 6 months.
Yeah. Because remember, the big thing about Spider-Man was they showed it and they just still kept saying fall.
Right.
And then they waited till the very... No, yeah, that's right. It was like a week later at some other stupid showcase that they didn't really talk about Spider-Man that much. They're like, oh, by the way, it's out this day. So
yeah, so I guess maybe it could be next year. I think maybe that's the goal. But however long that is, you got to add 2 years minimum before Spider-Man, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
You're looking at like 2029, 2030 for another Spider-Man.
Gross.
PlayStation 6?
Easily.
I guess so. Whatever we're on at that point, who the hell knows?
I'm really excited for the PlayStation 6 Pro, guys. I mean, it's going to top everything, all right?
Yeah, Spider-Man, you won't have to choose.
And the last article I put in here, I just thought it was funny. Kind of leaned to that other thing about the old wives' tale you were talking about earlier. Dragon's Dogma 2 apparently had frame rate troubles because the NPCs were thinking too hard. And there are a lot of NPCs in that game, but like that's a crazy thing to have.
That makes sense, though. That's a lot of processing power to give all those guys things to do and game scripts to run through.
I've not tried it since this update. I saw it hit the other day because when I turned on my Xbox, like one of the many things I had to update. And then I saw this article come out. And I'm like, I should probably try it now that they put out this update to see if it actually runs better, not having it in, that specific VRR mode on the other TVs. To try it on the TV in here, so and see. But yeah, no, this is another game I need to go back to because I do really like that game. It's very cool. So that ends news. We can kick over to movies and stuff, which I don't have anything nearly as exciting to talk about as Joker 2 and how horrible that was. But I did watch VHS Beyond. And surprisingly, here's what I'll say. Surprisingly, VHS Beyond is very good, but, and that comes with a big but, which is the story that is getting the most attention, which is the one that has Alana Pierce in it, is not very good. So the rest of that movie, and the thing is, the last story of it, because it's an anthology just like all the other VHSs. Mm-hmm. This one specifically is sci-fi based. So, and this is what makes it really weird. Like 4 of those 5 stories, 100%, it's aliens. There's like aliens attacking this. There's a weird one that's like about a SWAT team that has it makes sense now, and I don't want to say what the name of that segment is because it'll spoil the end of it, but now, not seeing what the title of it was before that segment started and then seeing what the twist was at the end, I understand why it was called what it's called. So, but it was a very bizarre one. All the other segments are really good. The one that I want to highlight, because it's really fucking wild, there is a segment in there that is written by Justin Long, the actor, and his brother. They're not in it. They just wrote it. And I believe one of them, I think he and his brother wrote it and his brother directed it, I want to say. It's weird because it doesn't fit the premise of every other story in this movie. Because again, every other story is about aliens of someone, right? This one, totally not. It is a woman who runs a doggy daycare. It's called, I want to say it's called like Fur Buddies or Fur Pals or some Fur Babies. That's what it's called. Okay. And this woman, the whole thing is they're watching this video. It's like a group of like, I'd say like 20 something, 30 something year olds that are in like a PETA type group. And they're watching a video of this woman who runs a doggy daycare. And they're put down because behind her on her fireplace, she has had taxidermy done to her last 3 pets. But one of the pets that are on the fireplace is missing. And they notice this and they think it's kind of messed up. And so they want to go investigate and check out like what's going on with this. Is there something going on? And so they take a video camera because that's VHS. And they go and they go to check out of it. And what ends up happening is this fucking lady is pulling people into her basement, drugging them, and turning them into human dog hybrids.
Oh boy.
And it gets fucking weird. It's weird in a low budget way. Like you could handle this thing. It's so low budget. But it's in a humorous way, but it's fucking wild at the same time. So I won't spoil any more of it because it has a pretty interesting ending. But that was my favorite segment of the movie. It has nothing to do with aliens. The segment that Alana Pierce is in, which shockingly is also written by Mike Flanagan, which is the guy that's done a lot of great horror stuff on Netflix. He did the I would think it would have been impossible to do Dr. Sleep as a movie, but he directed it and it was really good. It's incredibly flat, and like I don't think the acting is very good. So it just fell flat for me, and unfortunately it's the last story of it. So I feel like the rest of it's front loaded, and you get to the end of it, and it ends on a bummer. So, but as far as VHS movies go, I have not watched one since the third one. I have not watched any of these other like 94, 99. I think there was even another one in there. I'm gonna go back and watch them now. This was a really good one. So overall, I think it's like a 7 out of 10. But I will say the one that everybody's talking about, like that story, it's really boring. It's that whole premise, and I'll say it like really quick. Alana Pierce plays a woman that is in the desert. She somehow bumbles and kind of stumbles into becoming a stowaway on an alien spaceship, and then the spaceship takes off. And it almost becomes like a body horror thing because she has to go into like a stasis, but she's not in a pod to handle that. So her body gets really fucked up. It's just I found it very boring. So, and again, it's low budget, so it's not like or anything like that. And the only other thing I've really watched is I have continued my trek of rewatching the Freddy movies. So the only one I have left now is the last one before Freddy vs. Jason, which I've seen Freddy vs. Jason like 100 times, but which is the one that it was, remember, like they buried, like as I'm rewatching it, I remember now, like they fucking trashed this franchise by the end of like it's a joke of itself. The one I just watched before the one I'm on now, there is a segment where Freddy traps a guy in an NES game. And it's fucking crazy to watch
that.
now.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, it's supposed to be an NES game, but he's using a little Atari controller, but it's funny. And it's like it becomes more of a comedy. Like that movie is straight up like there's no scares. It's just a comedy. But the last one that they did before Freddy vs. Jason, it almost like turns everything on its head because they bring back the original actress, and it's one of those types of movies where it's like a surreal thing where they're talking about those characters from that movie. They're talking about the actors, and if Freddy's actually a real person, so it gets really weird. But it's not bad. So they kind of reinvented the franchise a little bit with that one, and then obviously, you know, they didn't do anything for a decade, and then they made Freddy vs. Jason, and then they made that really bad remake that is bad. That I went to the theater and saw and did not like. So, but I've enjoyed going back and watching the other ones because like some of them are still really good. Like 2 is a really weird sequel. You get to 3 is more of what 2 should have been. Then for a while they follow this one character that really like knows how to fight Freddy in the dream world, and it's kind of interesting, but it's just they didn't have somebody to cohesively sit there and have a vision for it because Wes Craven only made the first one and then kind of bounced. So and then yeah, like I said, that last one was it literally was a comedy. So that's it. The only other thing I'll say is the Penguin continues to be an excellent TV show.
I saw people are going crazy about that last episode.
You should watch that show.
I probably will when it's done.
I will tell you, you don't even need to really have seen the Batman. The big thing that happens at the end of Batman, the movie, is explained in the first 5 minutes of the show.
Oh, okay.
So if you haven't watched, and I mean, I can understand some people might not want to watch it because it's 3 fucking hours long, but I like, and as someone who loves that movie, this is like a notch up from that somehow. Like I had no idea going into this it would be as good as it is. Yeah, the last episode is fucking wild.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's
the internet is going crazy right now about that.
It is to the point where like I know that when we get to the second Batman movie, I'm going to be disappointed because they are not these 2 characters that are prominent in the Penguin show. There's the Penguin and there's Sophia Falcone. They're not going to have big prominent roles in the second Batman movie. So I could see the success of this show maybe giving Colin Farrell more screen time in the Batman 2. Absolutely. But I don't think he's going to have a major role. So, but yeah, it is a fantastic. It's way better than it has any right to be. Like it's crazy how good the show is. So I will kick to you, Dan, because you have.
I only watched one real thing, like major title. This is the kind of movie I had Kyle get for me.
Choir.
Yeah, because I really like time travel, time loop, all that kind of bullshit things. And I stumbled upon this movie called 57 Seconds. It stars. Josh Hutcherson, Morgan Freeman is in it. It's the kind of movie where they get a big name, and he's in the beginning and the end, and he shows up once in the middle. So he's in it. So for this movie that's I think it's like 90 minutes long, he's in it for maybe 10, something like that.
Okay.
It is garbage. It's pure garbage.
He got his paycheck.
Yeah, he got his cash out, which maybe it was like $50 because this movie's bad. It involves he's like the head of some kind of like biotech company, and your boy Josh, he writes a wellness blog where he like under like a pseudonym so that he can rat out the big companies and what they're doing to hurt people and stuff. And so he really wants to get an interview with him for his blog, so he kind of has this plan where he sneaks backstage and all this kind of stuff, and in doing so, because he's giving this big conference at like some giant stadium, right? In doing so, he meets this girl that works there, and obviously asks her out, and that's because that's going to be a part of the movie because it has to be. And he saves Morgan Freeman from like an assassination attempt, I think, because he happens to be backstage. And after everything leaves, he gets like shot in the process, like through his hand, like it hits his hand or something. He's fine, but he finds this like ring on the ground, And while he's being interviewed by the cop and all this stuff, and he realizes he's late for his date, he accidentally like hits the ring or something, and he goes back in time like a minute. And he's like, what the hell's going on, kind of a thing. And then it plays out that this guy invented this thing like through quantum technology or some horse shit. Like the explanation for it is terrible. And he eventually figures out like how to use it to hook up with the girl. So already we're in a pretty gray area for how we're using this power. And then his car gets towed, and he's like, "Oh, I need to make money. I'm going to go to a casino." And here's where, as someone who loves time travel movies, Kyle knows this. I'm very like intent on the rules of your universe making sense. If you're going to
set up good,
if you're going to play this shit, you have to do it correctly. So here's the first major problem I had with this movie. He needs money, right? Because he's a shitty writer and he doesn't get paid a lot. This car got towed. He sees an ad for a casino on the TV. What brilliant timing. So he decides to go to this casino, and he goes and plays roulette. Now, you would think that would make sense because he could go back in time and bet on the number that won, right? But here's the problem with roulette. It's literally a ball that rolls on a table. Unless that ball is dropped the exact same time it was before, in the exact same motion it was before, it's not guaranteed to land on the same number. Any interaction he has with this man could potentially change what happens. Saying hello to him could cause the guy to look up and drop the ball half a second later, and it will not land in the same number. The movie ignores this. It presumes you're dumb and that like this is just bound to happen. So he wins at roulette like 12 times in a row. And he, so obviously like the casino thinks he's cheating. They beat the shit out of him, all this other stuff. But at no point does he think like maybe I shouldn't be so fucking obvious about this. That I'm clearly like, no one wins roulette twice in a row, let alone like 12. Right. But so the story progresses, and what happens is this other tech like pharmaceutical company hates Morgan Freeman's character, and he thinks the assassination attempt was a setup. So he sends his bodyguard to go like recruit this kid and see what he knows. Okay. But it turns out that pharmaceutical company sold the drug that killed his twin sister. Oh, that's so weird.
Awesome.
So like he like takes a job inside to help bring it down, and he uses this ring to impress him and all those kind of stuff. Meanwhile, his relationship with the girl is going so great that the movie does no concept of like how much time has passed between like the day he found it, what day it is now.
That would bother me.
What day it is tomorrow. You have no clue. And it's going so fast that like she's basically living at his place in what seems like 2 days. And then at one point he proposes to her, and at most it feels like maybe it's been a week. Like none of it makes any sense. Yeah. And then at some point later they dropped a thing where like it's been 6 months. Like it's been 6 fucking months. Like that doesn't make none of this makes any sense. And then like the pharmaceutical guy fucks him over, he blackmails him, she finds out about the ring and gets pissed. It's like it's so just tropes the whole time that you can literally predict what is going to happen next. And then at the end, like they're in a fucking plane taking off after he's exposed this guy because he got all the information. Yeah. There's one good sequence in this movie. And I'm spoiling everything because no one should ever watch this movie.
No one's gonna watch it.
There's one good sequence where like the guy's like assistant lady, she has these files in a safe that he needs. Okay. So he goes in there and he runs this over and over again for, how am I going to get these files out of the safe? So he walks in and he goes, "Hey, give me the code to the safe." And she like laughs at him and calls for the bodyguard. So he rewinds it. He goes back in. He has a gun this time. And he says, "Give me the code to the safe." And she's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's not going to work." And then he accidentally kills her, like shoots her in the head. She dies. Runs it back, walks in, shoots her in the leg immediately, runs up, grabs her by the face and says, "Give me the code to the safe." She gives him a fake code. He shoots her in the head again. They rewind it again. Like he goes through this loop like 9 times to finally get the code. Okay. That was like actually a funny part of like how you could use this. Because you got to remember, this thing only goes back in time less than a minute. Okay. It's not very like super helpful. But anyway, they go back to this plane. Like something happens where like the cops are chasing the plane down. They shoot the plane engine. That thing's going to crash. He miraculously survives a fucking plane crash. And so does like the bodyguard guy, but like the main guy's dead. And then Morgan Freeman fucking shows up at the airport and he's like, "Hey man, I left that ring for you to find. I need somebody who's smart to come work for me. Because, of course, your main boy went to MIT. They just casually dropped that in conversation at one point.
Oh, wonderful.
But he's just a shitty, like, article writer. Like, the whole thing is so fucking set up.
That's bad.
Yeah, and the worst part of this whole thing, it has shitty voiceover narration to the point where the beginning of the movie starts with them on the plane as it's about to crash, and you get that, like, record scratch. How did I get here? Let me tell you all about it. It's like, fuck this. Bad. Like, this is so
that's bad.
Awful.
I don't like that.
It's insane to me, like, how movies get made anymore.
Yeah.
Well, because who wrote this? Who made this? Why did people agree to star in this? And where the fuck did it even release? Because I couldn't find it. It just showed up one day. It's from last year. But fuck, man, that movie sucks. It's bad. And that's all I watched. That was too much. I'd take a nap after that.
Too much. There you go. Well, Matt, you have some stuff.
Yeah. Well, since I got power and I didn't get internet, I just kind of started going through like stuff I just downloaded when I went to the store and I was able to run Wi-Fi and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one of the things I most recently watched was that Hulu put out this show called Mr. Crockett. And as I was telling you, so it's based on the 90s. If you haven't seen anything on it, Mr. Crockett.
Seen zero.
You've seen zero on it. So essentially, Mr. Crockett is a TV personality, kind of like Mr. Rogers, all that kind of shit.
Okay.
And the thing about him is he magically shows up and he essentially gravitates towards kids in bad situations. Where like they're struggling with their family. Maybe there's the first kid he ends up getting is having a issue with his stepdad as far as being like mean to him, and his mom kind of like not having anywhere to go, so she's just kind of like dealing with it. So like essentially what it is Mr. Crockett is aiming towards kids who like need a father figure in their life and someone like that. What happens is essentially he's a spirit, and he, once he gets a hold of these kids, he kills the parent, and he just takes the kid into like his world. It's set in the 90s, and like, I mean, it all revolves around this VHS that magically appears in like one of those like library boxes that kind of sit out people's homes, like people are like, hey, borrow a book, bring a book, that kind of shit. So
those are popular today.
Those are really popular. But essentially people are finding these VHS tapes, they're watching it. It's the Mr. Crockett series, and the kids just kind of become obsessed with watching him consistently. It is, even though it's done in this year, it was released this year, it literally feels like a 90s movie. The graphics, any like CGI puppetry they utilize is all, I really felt like I was watching a movie from the 90s in this day. I have to say it was well done. It wasn't like horribly scary, but there were parts that were kind of creepy. And if you really like 90s like horror type, I think you'll actually enjoy this. I kind of watched it on a whim. I didn't read anything about it and even look at the trailer. I just turned it on and I just started watching it. And I have to say, it was enjoyable. It was really good. For Hulu to put it out, it was a solid flick.
All right.
Yeah, very good. Then I watched this movie called Players on Netflix. It stars Gina Rodriguez. It's a romantic comedy type thing. And
it's not the movie I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I know. But what it is she has a group. It's her and a group of guys, and they're essentially like running plays on women or men, depending on who it is, to kind of help each other hook up with people. In the end, she kind of runs this play on this guy she's a fan of and really likes, and then turns out to be a bad relationship. come to find out, one of the guys she's been running plays with since they've started this thing back in college is ultimately in love with her. And, ending, they fall in love, they get together and all that good stuff. Super sweet. I watched this movie called Land of the Bad. Is
that another like Netflix Hulu thing?
It is a Netflix. It is a Netflix show.
Okay. It sounds vaguely familiar.
It wasn't that good. I'll just tell you that right now. It starred, I believe it's Liam
Hemsworth.
Yeah.
The other
Hemsworth. I'm sorry. Yeah, Liam Hemsworth. That's who it stars. So essentially what it is like a group of covert ops people are going in to try and like pull one of their own out from like prisoner type situation.
Okay, like a POW type thing.
Thank you, POW. I couldn't remember the wording. It was kind of all over the place. The action in it was decently shot, but all in all, like I fell asleep halfway into it, and when I woke up, I kind of like, even though I missed like 20 minutes of the movie,
you're just like, I'm good here.
It wasn't really needed. Like the 20 minutes I missed was just kind of like, I woke up and I was like, oh, okay, that's it. So like, it wasn't that great. And I kind of regret watching it. Not as bad as 57 seconds, but I mean, we're all in it together. I did also catch Speak No Evil.
I have not gotten a chance to watch this yet, mostly because my girlfriend wants to see it, so I've been holding on to it.
I enjoyed it. I know you said you watched the original, so you kind of already know what's up with it, right?
I know. I didn't watch the original, but I know the story of the original, so I know what the twist of the movie is.
I can say if you watched any movie like this, when it comes to like that psychological type of film, you kind of already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But
and it's James McAvoy, who's always really good in these type of roles. Yeah.
He's going to play this movie.
Weird. Yeah.
He really did make this movie. And I mean, he just does so well at playing those super creepy roles. I really think he's a creep. Like, I think he's a serial killer in real life, because there's no way you can play these roles that well.
He's Professor X, but also just a real creep in real life.
Just a real straight up creep in real life. All in all, though, I think it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. It kept me.
I do want to watch it.
It kept me in it. And the ending, the last like 15-20 minutes of the film were really well shot and really well done.
Okay.
So I think you'll enjoy it too.
I'm sure I will.
I also watched this movie called Set It Up. It's another Netflix show, comedy or romantic comedy.
Set It Up, not Step Up.
Not Step Up, which it wasn't that bad. Step Up's not that bad.
I've seen the first 3,
but
there were more than 3, right?
Oh god, I think there's like 5 or 6 right now. Actually,
the last one I saw was the 3D one where they had the robot dude dance. That's the only reason I watched it, because I had to see that guy's robot dance.
Oh yeah. So
the second movie, if you watch that today. And I know more about this stupid franchise than I should, which is weird. The second movie was funded like partially by MySpace.
Oh,
so there's a character in the second movie that literally his entire character is just, yo dog, I'll hit you up on MySpace later. Yo dog, MySpace. And he like all the guy does is just say MySpace like 100 times in that movie. So like watching that today would probably be wild.
Oh my gosh, it's so horrible.
I remember hating it at the time it came out for that reason. I couldn't imagine watching it today.
That makes sense.
But 3, I remember I had to see it because of that stupid robot dance, because that blew my mind. It's a great part of that movie.
It is solid. I mean, the first 3 weren't horrible. They were very tolerable.
First movie wasn't bad. It's a modern day Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, really.
Is what it is. And it's fine.
It's not
got
bad.
C-Tates.
Exactly. Yeah. So this one, Set It Up, stars Glenn Powell.
Okay. All right.
And it's essentially what it is. It's him he's kind of an overworked secretary, and he runs into another overworked secretary, Amelia Clark. I don't really know what she's been in.
Amelia Clark's the Game of Thrones chick.
Is it?
She was the Mother of Dragons. Yeah.
Oh, well, good to know. I think they both play really well off of each other.
Okay.
But they're both overworked. They both work in the same office building, and they kind of come across each other one late night, and then they ultimately decide to set their bosses up together so that since they're overworked, and when their bosses kind of link up and have free time, and get together, then they realize that they have free time. So it kind of it was cute. It was a romantic comedy. I think it's really well done. What's his name? Pete Davidson has a small role in it, but the scenes he's in, he fantastic.
Are pretty funny.
He does really well. Yeah, he does really well. All in all, it's a good movie. I watched through so far Tulsa King. I'm caught up on that. If you're not watching it,
like the whole season 2 or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think they're only out 3 or 4 episodes right now.
Yeah, it just started. So I watched the first 2 episodes of that show when it started and never went back. I liked it.
It's good, cool, man. I started it because I didn't realize it started back up. But man, it's really good. It's a really good show. And then I caught The Menu last night.
Okay, that movie.
Weird. It's so weird.
I love that movie.
Very well done.
Dan needs to watch that. That's one I keep bothering you about because it's not there's nothing in that movie you couldn't handle, but it's so well done and crafted. Yeah. I think you would like it for that reason.
Yeah, and I like a lot of the people.
The way it plays off of food, it's just really it's a dark comedy at times.
Yeah, very much.
But it's just so well done. There's one thing I won't spoil what they do, but there's a thing in there specifically that is done with tortillas that is just a mind fuck of a thing.
That was awesome. I will say that.
I won't spoil what it is, but it's ridiculous.
And how do you pronounce the name? Ralph Fiennes?
Ralph. I think isn't it Ralph Fiennes? Ray Fiennes. Okay.
Oh wow.
Great actor.
Fantastic. He does very well in this.
So good at it. Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was pretty good. At the time, I thought it was a little creepy and weird, but all in all, it was a solid movie. Yeah, very solid. I think you would enjoy it too, Dan.
Yeah, I love that movie. I've seen it 3 times now.
I really liked the play it had when it did specific menu time, the first course and the second course and all that jazz. I really liked the way it set it up like that. I thought that was pretty cool. It just kind of ultimately at some points I was like, is this a movie or am I watching a cooking show? Because I really couldn't tell.
Yeah, it starts out that way and then it does finally take its pretty dark turn where it does finally play its hand to a point where okay, it is gonna be that type of movie. But it never gets to. It's not it never gets to a gore fest type or anything like that. It's very subtle. There are maybe a couple scenes of violence, but it's nothing crazy.
Yeah, not at all.
If anything, it's just more shocking. But it's a fantastic movie. So
very much.
My girlfriend loves that movie too. So
yeah,
amazing movie.
But that's it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, hopefully I can catch up on some more stuff.
For sure. No, the last thing I forgot to put in here, but I'll mention real quick. I did also power through the 4 episodes of Unsolved Mysteries they put up. Only one of them was good, which is the very first one, which was like a true unsolved mystery. One of them is about aliens, and one of them is about could be the most, to me, and maybe I just sound like an ass, I don't know, but the most boring thing you could ever put, which is disappearing cattle. I don't know. I had a hard time saying aliens. It was some people were thinking it's aliens, some people think it's a satanic cult. It just, nobody knows what the fuck's going on with this missing cattle. It was not a good episode. And the only thing I liked about the very last episode put up was a Roswell one, which going into it, I'm like, there's nothing new to say about Roswell. And shocker, there's nothing new to say about Roswell. But what's cool about it was they actually played clips and did some throwback segments to the original show.
That's cool.
And it was almost more like an homage to the original episode that they did on Roswell. And that part of it was really cool.
Yeah.
But they had not, much like Jack the Ripper, nothing new to report on Roswell.
Yeah.
Like, we still just, it is what
it's
is.
Over.
So, but yeah, that one the very first episode about the park bench murders, like crazy unsolved mystery that makes no fucking sense. Highly worth watching that one. So,
nice.
Whatever. Even with like having disappointed ones, I still say just keep bringing them. I'm ready for it. So hopefully they don't take nearly as long with getting more episodes of that out. So, but yeah, we can kick over to emails. First email we have comes to us from Jason from Austin, Texas. Howdy, guys. A while ago, you guys had talked about Alana Pierce having some very bad takes in the games industry. I'm curious if you've now seen the infamous Some Fucking Guy 7 out of 10 rant. She goes off for almost 20 minutes defending IGN and their use of the 7 out of 10 score. It just comes off as blaming everyone else for the issue. She even stops herself from saying games journalists are inherently better at games because they have more time and have completed more games. It's quite crazy. Have you heard of this video?
No, I didn't.
You've not?
No.
Okay. So I to be fair, I knew nothing about it. And the funny thing is, we got this email. I went to go look it up, and before I watched like the actual video, I saw there was some other video of a podcast I'm not familiar with that was kind of dissecting it. So I clicked on that, and I thought at first when I was watching that video that it was a supercut. What this guy's talking about the phrase "some fucking guy." So I had to go watch the actual video. No, like she literally uses the phrase "some fucking guy" like 30 times in the first 5 minutes.
What is the context of her rant, though?
Okay, so her rant is that people need to calm down about IGN using 7 out of 10 too often.
No, they don't.
And that it's not that big of a deal, and that we really shouldn't care about the scores of video games that much because it doesn't really matter because, quote, it's just some fucking guy's opinion.
But the whole point of a score of a video game from a site that reviews video games is to give you some kind of general baseline at the beginning. Like you can roll down to the score, see it got a 5 out of 10, and then you can read about why it got it. And that should help you figure out what the game is like.
Is it worth buying today?
Sure.
Should I wait?
But
maybe I don't play this one.
But when you're a site that, remember, they don't review every game. They review whatever games they feel like reviewing. Fine, I get it. There's a lot of video games out there, and there's not enough time to do it. But when you can predictably tell that an IGN is going to start at 7 out of 10 and maybe go up a point or down a point, or in some cases up 2 points, and maybe down to a 5, then what is the point of a 10-point scale that starts at a 7?
Well, they even came out with an article and basically admitted they start at 7.
That's ridiculous. What is a 10-point scale
that's
then?
Dumb.
If that's a 7, then it's a 5-point scale because it's 5 to 9 essentially, because there are no 10. There's very few 10s. And there's very few things below a 5.
There are both very few 10s, but I also feel like
sometimes there's too many.
Yeah, more games now than back in the day get a 10 out of 10 than they should.
Yeah. You used to maybe get 1 a year, maybe.
Yeah, now I feel like you get 4 or 5.
Yeah, but you cannot start your system at 7 out of 10.
You can. It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So what are you saying? Are you saying 7 is average? Then what's a 5? 5 is bad? Then what's a 1?
Horrible.
But if 7 is average and 5 is bad, but 9 is only 2 points above that, does that mean it's perfect? Or does that mean it's okay?
Yeah.
Well, what about, and remember, they got rid of half points and decimals specifically to avoid this shit because they couldn't decide if a game was a 7 or a 7.1 if that really mattered. Well, now if you rate everything a fucking 7, none of it matters.
It doesn't. Look at how many games this year they've rated alone that have gotten a 7 out of 10. Some of them that were deserving, something like Star Wars Outlaws got a 7 out of 10. I don't think that game's a 7 out of 10.
No,
what I've seen.
And we know for a fact, going back a decade or longer, that video game companies kind of pay for review scores or they manipulate the hell out of them. The Gerstmann thing proved it. where he refused to give that game the score they wanted.
For anybody that doesn't know, because I'm sure there are people out there that don't know, he refused to give Kanan Lynch a favorable score after GameSpot had bought they were running ads for the entire month. Like it was like if you went to the website, it was all over the side.
The top banner Lynch was coming the sides. Out. It was one of those dynamic banners that like reached around.
And what did he give it, a 6 or a 5? It was low.
I thought it was lower, but it could have been anywhere around there.
And basically, I don't care for this game. Yeah, and it just cost him his job. That was the infamous, he left GameSpot, started Giant Bomb and didn't look back until they inevitably ended up in the same building again.
But if we're going back to like the 7 out of 10 and her rant, like, yes, video game reviews are opinions. Kyle and I don't like the same games every time.
No. I
don't like the same games a lot of these reviewers like. Gersman is a perfect example. That dude fucking hates video games. Like he just does.
No. He hates modern games. He loves going back to play the NES.
He hates some of that shit too. But
there's
some of it, it's because he's not afraid. He's not afraid to be overly critical about stuff that deserves.
No, absolutely.
We've talked about this too in the past, where like old GamePro magazines used to rate a game on 5 categories. Well, maybe the graphics aren't great, maybe the sound isn't great, but damn, it sure is fun to play. That's more important. We get caught up and you and I saw it all the time working at like GameStop and stuff, where people are like, the graphics look good. I love the graphics. I don't give a shit what the game looks like if it's fun and it controls well and the sound is good. Who cares? But so many people take these, and the other problem is, who cares? It's just some guy's opinion. 7 out of 10. It's just some fucking guy's opinion. There are people out there. There are a lot of people out there who base their purchase solely off review scores. Your review scores have a substantial amount of power in this industry.
They do,
right?
There are most companies have bonuses tied to Metacritic scores.
We're talking like developer standpoints, but also I'm saying like readers who go to I go to IGN because I like to read their reviews and like, man, this game got an 8. I should buy it.
I go to IGN because I like their app.
Well, I don't even like their app, but it's the only good one.
It's the only good one. Yeah, like that's the thing.
But IGN also updates throughout the day, unlike GameSpot, which it seems like maybe 2 people work there. I can't tell anymore. But I like a lot. I like Alana Pierce for the most part. But
she's had some bad takes.
She just had some bad takes, and I think it's because she's reaching this level where she's never really given a shit in the past, and that's been evident, and that was evident, and that's why I liked her in the beginning. Like when the guys would call her out and she'd fucking contact their moms. Incredible.
Yeah, stuff. That was the thing. Like somebody brought that up recently because somebody tried to swing that the other way and was like, "Oh, is this the same lady that's like doxing kids?" When I'm like, "No, there's no doxing here." They would say something heinous to her online, and she'd go find out who their mother was, and then literally screenshot it and fucking and fucking send them like, "Is this your son? This is what he's saying to me online."
Right.
Like that's fine.
She's standing up for herself.
She's going to the mother. How's that doxing? No. Like that's not a dox.
She has every right to defend herself and do so in that way.
And I thought that was a great thing at the time.
But ever since leaving IGN and leaving Funhouse and not doing kind of funny stuff and kind of doing her own podcast and writing and Twitch and stuff, it's the curse of the people who Twitch too much. They get this inflated ego. I can do whatever the hell I want. I can say whatever the hell I want.
Twitch is something else today.
Horrible.
And it was. I wish you would go back to the Justin.tv days.
No, it's too far. We were
just playing video games, having a good time.
Too far gone.
No, now it's just a money ad revenue generating bullshit machine is what it is. So, but I just thought her take here was terrible. After, like I said, I didn't know anything about it. Honestly, the last time I watched a video of Alana Pierce was the last time we talked about her having a bad take. So it hasn't been.
We don't need to be defending games journalists. Okay, we just don't. And
it's like if I want to see a review of a game, I tend to go to YouTube and just find a YouTuber. Like recently,
I watched somebody play a game for an hour.
Do you think, or that too? But I was gonna say, do you think IGN is gonna have a review of East 10 next week?
No,
probably not. But I went and watched 3 reviews on YouTube today of it. Well, and they were all pretty favorable.
But again, going back to this, like, why are we defending games journalists when people, like, there's clear instances of them being paid by major companies to hawk their shit. Greg Miller is a prime example. He gets paid by EA to hawk their bullshit games, which nobody likes. You think he's allowed to say anything bad about an EA game? You think he's allowed to come out and say EA's got Battlefield coming out and then a month later say it sucks? Absolutely not. So how can you trust him on anything?
Did you see the latest? Since you brought Greg Miller up, did you see the latest thing today?
No.
He is, and it's not a joke, and not to get political, but he's running a political ad for Kamala Harris. That's a real thing I saw today on Instagram.
You know what?
An actual political ad for her campaign.
And here's the thing. He's allowed.
You know, he's getting paid for that.
He's allowed to vote for who he wants.
He's not doing that for free, though. I'm saying, like, he's getting paid for that.
He's allowed to vote. Yeah,
and you're allowed to. He's allowed. Not to get political. You're allowed to vote for whoever you want. I don't care.
Tell you who he's voting for. Yeah. He's allowed to tell you the reasons he's voting for that person.
Right.
But to run an ad as a guy who talks about PlayStation games and just takes his shirt off sometimes is a little wild to me.
It's wild to me because I feel like when they started Kind of Funny like a while ago, that never would have been a thing. No. They were never talking about politics or voting or anything like that. It was all just about video games. And I don't know what changed.
Now he's just sponsored content, man.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm trying to make is like it. I mean, yeah, sure, whatever. Anybody can vote for whoever they want, but like my point is, he is 100% getting paid to do that kind of an act.
Wow, I should vote for the same person who the guy who hosts the WWE 2K ratings show reveal votes for, right? Like, fuck, dude.
Weird.
He's the top of the list of like people I have zero like I could care less about. His integrity is gone.
I don't know what his
it's just gone.
I don't care what his opinion on is because everything is going to be great if it's on PlayStation.
But how can you tell what his opinion is when he's being paid?
Exactly.
None of these are opinions anymore.
Yeah, very much.
I agree. I agree. But not to get on a Greg Miller rant.
No.
But next email we have comes to us from Casey from Phoenix, Arizona. Howdy, guys. Been listening a long time, and from time to time when you guys speak about retro, you talk about the possibilities of building a retro emulator PC or doing something with it. Are any of you still into that or making plans to do so? Also curious, what is your stance on emulation versus the real cartridge/disc? Thanks. So this specific email here, and I skipped over one I'll read next, but this specific email here was the other reason why I dived into the RetroArch thing this week, because I was like, we got this email. I was watching that other stream where I was actually watching Jeff Gerstmann play. The reason I clicked on it is because he's playing Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I was like, yeah, I want to see that, because I've never played the NES version of that game. My only concept of that game is Super Nintendo, and I don't know if you know, but that game is wildly different on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis.
That's not an uncommon thing of the time, though.
Like, and also, it's also Sega. There's a Sega CD version too.
I'm sure that's even better.
So I would like to play all of those now. But like watching him play that, I was like, this is a wildly different game that I should probably investigate at some point on the NES.
The one for Super Nintendo, I swear. Yeah, I bought you that one for.
You did, yeah. Okay. I have a box copy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's in the other room.
I swear, I remember.
We just found. We were doing some cleaning and found those boxes that had the cartridges and stuff. And we found the box copy of that Banjo Kazooie. There's a box copy.
I remember
of that.
when we got that one. Yeah,
that came out of a lot, but yeah, that had some of the box copies of games that I was missing and stuff that were in there. So that also is why the Castlevania behind me is on the shelf now, because it was in that box.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, perfect.
The big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as that stuff goes, like, I installed it to the PC that I normally use, and that's perfectly fine. At some point, would I look into like maybe having one of those like little mini PCs or whatever?
I'd like to get one of the
Raspberry Pi. I couldn't think of the name.
I don't even necessarily want one of those. I'd like to get like they make computers that are that big, and if that's all I'm going to be doing with it, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, nice. Absolutely. So, but I tried that the other day just to see how it would work, because I dabbled in the RetroArch thing once. I busted out my old 8-bit Do controller. I played a little Symphony of the Night through that emulator, and it obviously plays and runs really well. So I'm thinking about looking into that and like the retro achievement stuff because we were talking about that.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm most excited for is like getting achievements
really cool
in
idea.
Fucking Game Gear games is like the dumbest thing in the world to me. But
pretty cool though.
But when it comes to like physical stuff versus emulation, I love physical stuff as like a collector's piece, like a showpiece, and like just physically having something. But I'm all for emulation at this point, man. Who cares anymore?
At this point, I'm more for the emulation aspect of it if I want to play something because save states and there's a lot of quality of life stuff.
Some
just
stuff you can't
doesn't exist.
You can't just go out and buy a lot of this stuff.
Yeah,
but not, at least not for a decent price. But if I can play it or preserve it or like have a copy of it forever, like think about this. Like, do you know who LGR is?
The guy that just had all the
he has like one of the coolest like PC collections of all time, rare big box stuff, all this stuff. His house just got fucking destroyed
because of the hurricane.
It's all gone. Like this guy, we're talking like he probably had one of the premier PC collections in the world.
I'd argue, easily. He could easily open a museum.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
Makes great content. It's always been good. But all of his stuff is just gone. And if you think like that stuff, your stuff can be gone tomorrow. Like, luckily I have this all cataloged and it's, and everything, but emulation protects you from this kind of stuff now. And
that kind of stuff too. It's like we're going back. He has like old versions of computers and stuff, like an insane collection.
Stuff that doesn't exist.
And stuff that is not going to be replaceable.
Yes.
He didn't, because I watched the most recent video. There's a chunk of his collection he was able to get, like, it's okay. But there's definitely stuff that it's like it was all the water. This again.
Yeah, the water destroyed everything.
I think he said most of his big box collection was okay, but there was a chunk that because it's all cardboard,
right?
And
not everything was in his house because he's got storage units and stuff too.
Yeah.
It's just, but emulation has a place in 2024.
It does.
And with how readily available it is, if you know where to get it. But the other thing is like Nintendo and Sega, they every so often they catch on and a site gets nuked and then you got to wait for it to come back. But I don't see anything wrong with it anymore. Like if Nintendo's not willing to sell me copies of these games, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
Yeah.
They're not willing to put everything they have rights for out for sale.
No, and that's the thing too, is like they do semi-regularly like put things up on, if you have the Nintendo Online thing for the Switch, but like it's not everything.
Right.
It's a very curated, like a extremely curated list.
But I also can't just buy that game. I have to have your service that you can turn off whenever you feel like.
Well, and then on the flip side of that, when you look at PlayStation, you look at Sony and what they're doing with those PS1 games, like most of the time you can buy those games for like $10, the PS1 to PS5. But every once in a while, they will lock one. Like recently, Dino Crisis came out this last week. That is locked to PlayStation Premium, whatever the high tier is.
It only costs $160, Kyle.
Yeah.
And you don't even and you don't own it.
Well, it also does have trophies, so that's why I was like, I'm out.
Right.
Because it actually looks decent. Like, it looks like a decent way to play that game. But yeah, it's a bummer that I can't buy that. Because all the other ones that have come out that I'm interested in, I've bought. So now I'm really crossing my fingers when they put Blood Omen out.
But we're also even talking about like instances like that. You buy in it. You're not buying it. You're borrowing it until they turn it off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's another reason why I feel like emulation has a place, because this stuff is all going to be gone someday. But as long as people keep dumping stuff and we keep having, and plus emulation leads to like really crazy finds, like SimCity for NES. That game doesn't exist, but it fully exists emulated. I've played it. So like that's awesome.
Yeah, like every once in a while too, there'll be like maybe something that was canceled or something that'll come out.
You could have played Star Fox 2 before it was ever on the Classic.
I was gonna say recently somebody found, wasn't like about this time a year ago, they found that Dreamcast Castlevania game.
Yep.
And they put out playable build of that. Yeah. That'll happen sometimes, which is really cool. Or depending on the region that you live in the world, you can play games that didn't come out here.
Terra Enigma
only out
for Super Nintendo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's stuff that it's strange that it never did because it's in English. So yeah, emulation I think now more than ever is just more and more important, just because
it is.
The more digital corporations get, we need to protect the older stuff.
Agreed. Brett from Carlsbad, California, with Silent Hill 2 Remake selling over 1 million copies in its first week, what is next? Do you think they remake another entry? Do they use Bluebird to make a new proper entry in the series? What would you want to see them do? So, I mean, I would just tell you, I think the answer is they remake. They do another remake. I don't think that, because didn't they announce remember like a year ago when they announced all this other Silent Hill stuff, there was that bad, was it a motion comic weird, or something that came out that no one liked?
Yeah.
I want to say in there was 3 games they announced. One of them was like a new entry, kind of. But I imagine they would just do another remake. And like I said earlier, I think it's 3.
I think that's the smartest play. I think the smartest play is to do it again, make 3, see if that goes well too. Then you can make a new one.
Yeah, because in this style,
we're not getting I'll tell you right now, Downpour's not getting remade. Homecoming's not getting remade.
They're not going to remake the American ones. Right. Like I said, my hope would be they get up to 4 and do The Room, because that's the one I would like to see. But I think if you're weighing between 1 and 3, which I would rather see 1, because I think that's more in need of an upgrade.
But they've already redone 1.
They did that. What is it?
Shattered Memories,
right. Which I love to play. It's too fucking expensive. That's another reason. Emulation,
there you go. Yeah,
great.
But that's another reason why I think it's probably 3. And then again, if let's say Silent Hill 2 ends up selling 3.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
If 3 does the same amount, then I think they tell them, okay, you have free reign to make a new one, and it's Silent Hill, whatever, call it
whatever you want to call it. So
because they're open. They were clearly open to making a new Silent Hill when Kojima had the reins. So it's
100%.
It's not like they're not willing to do that, but I think they go one more remake.
I think so too, and I like 3 would make sense, because also if you do 3, then you can finally erase that 360 PS3 collection.
Part of it might also
forget that exists.
Part of it might also depend on how well this Chronos game is received. I don't necessarily think that this Chronos game is going to sell anywhere close to a Silent Hill.
Not Silent Hill level.
But as long as it's technically good and it gets a 7 out of 10.
You know what the game Lucian reminds me of? It reminds me of those Daymare games.
A little bit. I got weird Metro vibes from it too, with the
little
suit.
Bit, yeah, a little bit. Next email comes to us from Brian from Redacted, but it's a customer. It's not
That's great.
Yeah. So just to preface that. Hello, guys. Love the podcast. I wanted to write in about a recent shady transaction I had as a customer at GameStop. I went in to pick up my copy of a game I had reserved, and the manager told me that there was a promo going on and that I'd get a free game warranty on the game. Cool, whatever. I found out later what this guy did was he pulled my $5 off coupon and he used it to buy a warranty to add onto my reserve, and then stuck the rest of the money from the coupon onto my next reserve. I honestly only found out because I was planning on going back to use this coupon and discovered it had been redeemed. I'm sure this was likely done to pad numbers, but this person has no right to use my coupon without my consent.
Nope.
Right.
Any recourse I have here, if I'm being honest, I kind of want to be done with GameStop altogether now, but maybe I'm overreacting.
You're not overreacting. That guy stole $5 from you.
Yeah, you have full right to go.
That is theft.
I would be.
If you did not approve, if he phrased it to you as free warranty on the game, which I don't know if you know this guy, but warranties are $5 now.
Are they $5?
Yes, they went up again.
Okay.
For a game that is a check disc, does not actually need to run in your machine. So even if it is damaged, that's a little strange. He stole $5. He used it for his personal gain to improve his numbers and to screw you over, because he probably, I would assume the next game you have isn't within the same month, so your $5 coupon would come back next time. I I would absolutely complain.
I would at the very least find out the next, like see when the next time he's working and going and just can't. I mean, I don't know how many reserves you have, but even one cancellation is gonna hurt.
I would cancel it. Cancel it. There, you can get games plenty of other ways. I'm a firm believer in Best Buy. As long as you reserve it for pickup, you'll get it. If you reserve it to get shipped to your house, you might get a Kyle incident where you don't get it. But everything I've ever reserved through Best Buy for pickup in store, I have gotten to that day.
I will say, like, I have too. I definitely had weird interactions when I've gone to pick up games where it's like, oh, that's not out. You know, was it like Control or something I had, but I've always at least walked out with my game. Right. I'll say that on the day.
Or there are plenty of places you can order online to get stuff. I told Kyle, I said, I think I'm gonna try out this Video Games Plus place more, because what's cool about them is they actually get limited run stuff and import stuff, and since it's Canadian, the conversion, you get it a little bit cheaper, which would help on the shipping. But no, he flat out stole $5 from you. Like, not a question. That's pretty bold. That's I gotta say, that's a new one for me. The $5 coupon didn't exist when we were there, so we never had a chance to be told to do that by our DM. Because you got to remember, that could also be something their DM told them to do. Because DMs love shady shit like that.
Well, I remember they would the DM that we had before we had the decent DM. He would try to have us do. We never did it because it's shady as fuck. But he would have us try to do the thing where you'd put it on
the assumptive approach,
and then show them. Like, well, this is what it would be if you got this.
You would add the $3, and you'd say your total is going to be, because what was the game with us? It was 69-64, I think, for a long. Remember, it was 64-64 was what a game came out to be for a long time. So it would have been 67-64. You'd say, oh, you're just picking up whatever. It's going to be 67-64 with the warranty. And you would hope that they don't hear you or don't read the pad or whatever. I basically, without telling them to, I told them to fuck off. Like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. Sorry. I will ask, because it takes no time for me to ask. But will die.
But you're being honest.
Yeah, I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Would you like a protection for the game for $3 for a year? Cool. It covers any kind of damage, scratches, whatever. You bring it back, we give you another one. No. All right, cool. Don't care. I really did not care at all about numbers at that place. If I got him, I got him. If I didn't, I didn't. And we did fine the whole time we were there.
We always did fine.
We were never in trouble for that shit. This is. I would make it a point. Wild. I would make it a point to cancel with him. I mean, if you don't want to get confrontational with him, you don't have to. You don't have to bring it up. No. You don't have to say anything. You just say, hey, I noticed last time I was here, you used my $5 off coupon. I didn't want to use that. And just say something. You could say something like that in kind of like a shady way. But at the same time, I'd like to cancel my reserves.
Yeah.
And he says, why? Say, I want to get them someplace else. The other thing I think depends on, everybody's different, but it's who you are as a person. I'm old enough and I'm at a point in my life, I don't fucking care how anybody fucking feels about me anymore, man. If I went to that store, I'd say, use my $5 without telling me. I don't appreciate that. I'm canceling my reserves because I'm not shopping at GameStop anymore. And the GameStop employee, for the most part, probably won't care, except you called him out because you caught what he did.
Yeah.
And then he'll know. And if you want to go nuclear, you can say, I'd like your district manager's phone number, because you can get it. But
just keep in mind that there's a good chance that he may have been told by his district manager to do that. If
it's either he was told to do it or he's told his manager that's what he's doing and it got approved because his numbers are good.
Yeah.
But and the thing is, think about this too. He did it to this guy. How many people's he done it to? How many people did he do it to that day?
Right.
That's crazy.
Every pickup reserve?
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
If they didn't mention the $5 coupon, bam, free GPG for me, man.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
I can see it. Yeah.
That's very similar to what the other guy in our town would do.
Yeah.
He would have loved that. God, shit. He might have created that. He's a piece of shit. Told you, I don't care what people think anymore, man.
Well, Matt, it's happened. We're being asked about it now.
Why are we talking about this?
Valerie from Clarksville, Tennessee. Hi, guys. Love the podcast. Was curious if any of you guys are a fan of Terrifier or are going to check out the new one. With you talking about horror movies frequently, I figured there's got to be a Terrifier fan in there. I recommend the new one a lot. Easily the best of them now. Also, are any of you going to check out Smile 2 this week?
Valerie, we can't be friends anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that right now.
I've heard so much about this fucking clown in the last 2 weeks. And I'm tired of it.
The guy who plays Art the Clown, I don't have any beef with him at all. I think he plays Art the Clown very well. And he's creepy. He does his role perfectly. Like, the guy who is playing Art the Clown, by far, chef's kiss. He is fantastic.
The memes are great too. The smile
they're
meme
fantastic.
is my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
But the movie itself is pure garbage. Like, I haven't seen the third one, and I know people are gonna, but the thing about it is, every time I've heard about every Terrifier movie, it's this one is the best one. And
that's what I always hear.
I've watched the first two, and by no means have I felt that feeling with watching either one of them, because my biggest thing is there's just no story. And I get it. It's, it's supposed to be like a gore type movie. You're supposed to just be in it for that. But there's got to be something. There's got to be some type of substance somewhere. Like, why is Art the Clown just randomly killing folks? And I get it. He's crazy. Whatever. That's cool. But even, there was Rob Zombie movies. I can't even think about them now. Think
about Halloween?
No, not Halloween with three people. Then they would.
Oh, you're talking about Devil's Rejects and House of Thousand Corpses. Yeah,
all of those movies still had a story. Like they had. It might not
and that's
have been
the
a
thing.
great
It's like you go back to like Michael Myers, you go back to Freddy, you go back to Jason. They all have fleshed out backstories of why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
and even watching to me, it sounds like from you. I have not seen. I'm not interested. As somebody who you would think would be like 100% through, I am not interested.
Dude, even watching the latest Scream movie still had an idea of a substance to what was happening in these movies. But none of these movies have anything. There's like no, it just literally makes no sense. Will I watch the third one? Yeah, because now I'm at this point now where I can't help myself.
Now you just want to know. Yeah.
Now I just want to see what people are talking about. Because the biggest thing about it is everybody's talking about how like the first scene is like crazy and people are walking out. But it's like every time I hear that in a movie and I watch it, I'm like, I don't understand. Like,
I also feel like when you hear the stories like that, it's just people that were tricked into going to see it or don't know what it is, and then they go and it's like, this is not gonna be your typical slasher.
You're tricked into going to this movie. It's called Terrifier. That word does not have two meanings.
See, that would be
you have to know going into it that this fucking movie is not even rated by the MPAA. Like, just broke a record for that.
For me, my biggest thing is when I think about the movie Terrifier 1 and 2, I think about Kill Bill and the part where she's at the very end of the first movie in the black and white, and the fact that she's just slicing off limbs and there's just like blood squirting all over the place. Because that's essentially what these movies are. It's just like, how can I saw somebody in half and show the most amount of blood and intestines to make people go, ew.
But Kill Bill is meant to be an over exaggeration of it on
Kill Bill has a story.
Well, it's also on purpose. Like
this one is an over exaggeration as well, but it's just not done.
No, but but Kill Bill is meant to be so because like that's the style of movie it is. It's meant to be.
Yeah, that's what Tarantino's going for.
Yeah,
for sure. But Kill Bill was a good movie.
No, but that's what I'm saying though. Like the way it's handled in that movie is it's meant to be that because it's meant to be silly and over the top in the context of the movie.
Exactly.
This movie's just meant to say, go fuck yourself. We're gonna do whatever we want, and
we're gonna push it as far as we can.
Because like, so I can't remember if it was in the first one or the second one because they all meshed together right now. But there was one point where a girl is running from Art. Art finds her, and he literally, I believe, chainsaws her in half. Fine, whatever. It's just so like badly done that it took me out of the entire rest of the flick, and I was just like, I'm at the point where I'm watching these movies not because I want to, or because like I need to. It's just because like I've started and now I can't stop myself.
You are at the point that I was at for a long time with American Horror Story.
Yeah.
Where every season it would start and I'm like, okay, and every season I'd be like, okay, this premise sounds really good, and I would watch like half of the season, and I would have every season I would have a breaking point.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'd throw up my hands, be like, I'm out. This is so stupid, and it would happen every season. Sometimes it would be the first episode of the season.
Now listen, Valerie, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you, if you enjoyed it, that's great. I mean, I'm not knocking. I'm not saying anything's wrong with you. I'm just saying, for me itself, those movies don't do them for me. And as far as you go for Smile 2, I would love to go watch that in theaters.
I want to see Smile 2 really bad.
Because I enjoyed the first one. The ending was not well done for me.
The problem with that movie is it commits its cardinal sin of showing that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you show something that's mostly CG, it never looks good.
Yeah, that's the biggest downfall.
And if they would have kept that thing to the shadows and just about the entity that jumps from people, it's much more frightening.
Yeah.
And more impactful than to actually show that thing, which they did at the end, which that was the one part of the movie I was like, damn, this whole thing has been excellent, but you had to do that.
The movie was fantastic, and I feel the same way. Like, it's just, it was a very bad way that they did it, but I still want to go see the second one because
I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Because it's like Hereditary for me. I know that's one of your favorite films, but like, for me, the first 90% of Hereditary was fantastic, and then like the last bit was just like
I liked when it went off the rails at the end, but like that movie is, I don't know, that movie for me, just like you always as a horror fan search for the one that's like gonna get under your skin. That's the only one that ever has, and like really got under my skin. So
for real,
I watched it, and I've not watched it. I've watched it 2 times. Like back to back 2 days. And I like when I got it, and then because the next day I was like, I made my girlfriend, I'm like, you need to fucking watch this shit. And then I have not watched it since. I don't think I ever need to see it again.
It was a good movie, but I just like the ending for me just did it. But I do want to see Smile too. Like, so if I can't catch it in theaters, I definitely am going to catch it.
The minute it's up on
drops,
demand, I will watch
for
it.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm totally down for that.
Totally down for that one. Yeah, no, but yeah, and in my house, it's been, and part of it is like Joker 2 was so bad, and then I love everything about this movie coming out, beating the shit out of that movie last weekend at the box office. That was fantastic. And it, like, they were able to just cling on to their own marketing of just making fun of like, we have the better clown, everything. I love everything about that. I love everything about what the guy is doing with this series, like the fact that he's been able to take this really low budget thing and turn it into something and kind of give a fuck you to the studios and still put it out and make money. Like he proved a major thing last weekend by making a movie for $2 million. And he made I think it was 18. And then I don't know if you saw this. I thought this was funny too. They actually proved like a couple days after they reported those numbers that a lot of the ticket sales for that, what was it called? The Wild Robot or something?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot of those ticket sales were teen kids that bought tickets for that and snuck into Terrifier.
Awesome.
So it actually helped the box office for that movie as well.
That's wild.
Because that was the funny thing. After that, they actually had predicted Joker 2 to be number 3 at the box office, and it actually fell below that. So because of that, I thought that was funny. But I love everything about it, and I like the character. I'm glad in 2024 somebody's been able to come up with a iconic slasher like Freddy and Jason in that, but he's everywhere.
And like I said, he does fantastic at the role of Art the Clown. Like I have no qualms against him at all because he is playing that role.
I love the Spirit Halloween videos.
Yeah, exactly. So
where he's just out there playing the animatronic and scaring people.
Yeah.
You seen the one where he scares the kid's mom and then high fives the little girl? That's my favorite one.
No, but I need to watch them.
That's a good, like he does the animatronic thing like this, and the mom and the little girl standing there, and then he like jumps out of character and blows his little horn, and the mom gets scared, and the little girl's laughing, and he just goes, the little girl, and gives her a high five, and then he goes right back into being the animatronic. It's great.
That is great.
That's my favorite one. But yeah, no, I'm at the same. I have no interest, so 0. But Smile 2, 100%. So, all right. And our final email comes to us from Zach from Albuquerque, New Mexico. The only reason I know how to pronounce Albuquerque is because of the Weird Al song.
Okay.
I'm just going to say that because I look at that and I'm like, boy, if I didn't know that song, I would butcher that. With the PS5 Pro nearly upon us, we've begun to see more and more games be announced to support the console, both current releases and future releases. My question is, do you think Sony eventually abandons putting in performance/frame rate modes in the base PS5 to push users to purchase this upgrade? That's the biggest fear I have right now between the two systems, is that Sony is going to pull the rug out from their install base and force them to this new, much more expensive product. Any thoughts on this?
I don't think they'll force an upgrade. That's not really.
I don't think they'll force it, because I think even when putting this thing out, I do think that Sony realizes that this machine is a boutique thing.
Yeah.
It's not they're not expecting every PlayStation user to go out and upgrade to this thing.
They know because of the price alone.
Clearly from the pre-order, and I'm like, I could still go pre-order one right now if I want to.
I think they know, and I think even from the Mark 30 presentation, you got to feel that they know that this isn't for everybody. This is for the professional user, the best of the best. I don't think there's an intentional point of them forcing people to the Pro. But a lot of it's going to be like the PS4 was towards the end, where if you don't have one, some games are going to run poorly, or they're going to make your system overheat. But like, as someone who just had a base PS5 die from overheating, essentially, that's not going to help.
Like I said, I've reserved pretty much to the point that you're at, of like, I'm not even thinking about it unless my PS5 was to die. Then I would have to have that moment of like, well, do I do that, or do I just get a slim, call it a day? So I don't think that. I mean, I find it funny because, again, the whole point of that presentation and the big thing that Cerny was on about was like eliminating that choice.
Right. It wasn't supposed to be something you had to worry about.
Almost every game that's been announced has been announced with like a myriad of options. Like, you can do this or that. Some of these games you can run at 40 frames or this. Like, it just seems completely against what that presentation shows.
The thought I had before they talked about it was, if a Pro comes out, it should be 4K 60, should be what it does. I shouldn't be making choices. And then, even then, they're like, you don't have to. And then at the end, it's like, but look, if you did it in this mode.
Mm-hmm.
What? No.
I'm more interested, and we won't know this until the thing's out and we see like Digital Foundry do 100 videos on it. But I am more interested in what they have talked about but have not shown, which is how it improves PS4 games.
That's definitely more interesting.
That is the thing I'm more interested in. But like, I'm not interested at the like, oh, I want to pay $800 to better play PS4 games that I have. But I am interested in the sense of seeing like, how much more power does this thing have to improve those, and what does it improve?
Right. Well, because
like, could it take something that's fundamentally broken frame rate rise and completely fix it?
Yeah, because you would think that the whole point of it is all the upscaling and like using AI to do this kind of stuff. Like, this is what AI should be for. Is this kind of technology, not writing term papers, but it's making PS4 games run better, look better is an important thing to me, but it's still like the price is just too high. I don't need it.
It's too high.
It's too high for me, knowing that a PS6 can't be that far off.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I still go back to, I can't see Sony putting this thing out, seeing Microsoft. Realistically, I still think Microsoft's going to go in 2026. It just seems like that's the right time.
2 years.
And if they're going to do something special for the 25th anniversary of Halo, makes a lot of sense to have a new Xbox at the same time. So I feel like they're going to go, and I can't see Sony just going, no, we'll wait 2 more years. We got this PS5 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
When they know that most of their install base doesn't own a PS5 Pro.
Not at all.
So most people are going to have the base system. So it's such a weird thing, because like the last time we had this happen, we got Pro systems on both sides, and that it became what it was for 3 years?
Yeah.
3-4 years thereabout. And that was it. It was what it was. And this time it's like, okay, no, there's only one of these companies that's going to do it. The other one's saying, nah, we don't really care about that. We're just going to go with it as is. So it's really wild. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited to see if anything is said or announced at the Game Awards this year or teased.
Yeah.
For console?
Like Microsoft. Not a new Xbox console, but I could totally see that handheld thing being teased.
It would have to be a very small tease. But because
I don't think it's like, hey guys, and he pulls out of his pocket. I don't think
no, because they want to control that.
Yeah.
They want The Rock to come out and announce this system too.
Please.
Just like
he's too busy hanging out with J.J. Abrams talking about making another superhero movie.
Are they redoing Shazam, but they're casting him as Shazam instead? How about that?
I could only hope.
God, no.
Hey, man. The hierarchy can only...
I forgot about that. Shit.
What about we remake Kazam?
There you go. There you go.
Rock.
With the Rock. Down. Yeah. There you go. But as always, that wraps up our emails. As always, send your emails into podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will be back in another 2 weeks for another edition of the podcast. Thank you for listening and watching.
Thank you, everyone.
Be safe.